a little.
Let's go ahead and call this work session to order. 6 p.m. We will start with discussion concerning the HR reset. I asked, we talked about this a little bit during our agenda setting meetings, and there's just a lot of information to go through via email and away from the table. You should have also received an email this morning from Joni Olson. There are no patron comments, but I think there's just things that the community would like us to consider and talk through. I think this is a good time to ask questions and make suggestions. Brian and I chatted a little bit yesterday. The salary schedule is in the board's purview to approve and be have a say and make adjustments to job descriptions, things like that. That's not in our voting purview. So I think we'll just want to stay a little straight on that, on what our actions handle. But I think we're learning as we go through this too. So I'm going to say that to open it up to everybody to have discussion.
The board like me to walk you through this proposal? Do you just want to do question and answer? What would you like to do?
Do you want to maybe start with calling out some of the major changes in this version versus the original version?
Oh boy, it's quite a few. It's probably best if I just kind of walk you through this. Let's see. So if I'm talking about page 2 of 12, I gave you a little bit of a background there, and that we had looped in the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators, COSA, for HR consultant. This was a retired superintendent and HR director who specialized in a lot of this type of work and has done this work for other districts and other organizations multiple times. We mainly just used her as a research facilitator. She didn't make any decisions other than if she had questions for me. Sean, what about this? What about that? And I would kind of share with her the direction to go. But in terms of her usage, it was mainly just looking at comparison data. Keep in mind that COSA used to put out an annual survey every single year. And that survey is no longer in existence. So that really is hard for districts because it used to have comparison teacher salaries, comparison admin salaries, comparison classified salaries, all those sorts of things. But that resource is no longer published every year. So it really was on the back of our HR consultant to call individual school districts that we identified that were either like size, like features, or direct competition for us, like Philomath or Corvallis or Albany and places like that. And she would have to beg and borrow and sometimes even steal their data and to try and create enough of a database that we had some comparison analysis. So specifically with like classified, confidential, supervisor, administrative employees, I just basically talked about that number 1 there. Keep in mind when you're comparing salaries, licensed teacher salary range goes from approximately 26 an hour all the way up to $45 an hour. So, just kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at these other salaries. We have a total of 30 unique job descriptions that have been redeveloped. with help from examples of other districts. And those will be eventually posted to the district website, but we have to keep in mind there's a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 is what's in front of you. Phase 2 is after these salaries are approved. Phase 2 is when the business manager, myself, and our HR person is going to call each individual person in and make sure we officially put them appropriately on the salary schedule in terms of, years of experience, skill level, like experience, those sorts of things, or especially with teachers, that would have to go with the negotiated salary schedule that's already in place, and that would be based upon the steps from experience as well as their education. And we have noticed that there are some teaching staff that have not appropriately been placed on the salary schedule, and so we're definitely going to be looking at that also to make sure that we're consistent across the board and supporting the negotiated agreement. So I'm not going to put out all these job descriptions for now until we have a chance to talk with our individual employees. It's kind of tough seeing suddenly the job description go, oh, rather than having a discussion about it, and we review it with them. But that eventually will be posted to the district website for transparency. Insurance, we noticed an anomaly with what is not the standard operating procedure, and especially with our board policy. And so we're recommending that there's a proration of the district cap according to the FTE. So 0.75 to 1 is a full benefit, 0.5 to 0.74 is prorated, and 0 to 0.49 FTE, no benefit unless the employee chooses to purchase the benefit, which they certainly could. We also, and the board has already done this earlier this year, they approved a health reimbursement account in lieu of insurance, where the district would place 50% of the district contribution into an HRA on behalf of the employee, and that account would stay with that employee even though they may or may not be employed with Alsea School District. Life insurance, I'm suggesting we add this benefit for all employees. It's an affordable benefit that will provide much needed financial support in a family's time of intense need. That is a very standard operating procedure in other districts. Also keep in mind, a lot of these benefits is not necessarily a part of approval for the night, because it's going to be outlined in the employee handbooks, and those are still in development. We only have about 80% of those complete right now. A big portion of what we're waiting on is the policy reset to get far enough that we can actually reference the new policies, because there's a lot of policies we have to reference in that document.
So can we call out really quick as we go through things, what's not going to be included in a vote, regardless of when we vote? So
life insurance would not. That would be a part of the handbook.
Would the benefit, so full benefit, prorated, and no benefit be a part of the handbook, or be a part
That'd
of
be
the
part.
HR?
That'd be part of the handbook. That'd be part of the handbook. Yes, HRA has already been approved. The board approved that separately already.
Yep.
A lot of salary schedules were not consistently in place, and those in place varied by position in terms of step increases. So we have redone the salary schedules for classified 10 steps and confidential supervisor administrative employees 8 steps. For this year only, I know in the initial version, I included an example of what a 4% COLA would look like for next year, but that's not a part of the approval. That would come later on, because usually when you're dealing with a union like AEA, that you first negotiate with your union, and then the COLA adjustments would come later for your other employee groups, whether it's your confidential group or your administrative group or even your superintendent. So that's usually the order that those things come about in. So part of what has been removed for tonight is that the 23-24 salary schedules I showed you just as an example. Staff handbook, like I said, is still being in process. And our policy review with OSBA is still in process. Supervisory and confidential employees. I'm recommending that we go to 1 transportation supervisor position And that is apropos with similar transportation departments throughout the state. And reclassification executive administrative assistants under the direction of a licensed district administrator. And you'll see that classification in the confidential salary schedules there. Some have asked me what's the difference between the executive secretary position and the administrative assistants to the district office. And the difference is the executive secretary, by standard operating procedure, is a supervisory position. They supervise other secretaries within the district. That is a very common practice. And that's a different classification according to Boley. So the executive secretary is more of a confidential exempt versus the assistants to the district office are confidential non-exempt, meaning hourly versus salary. Administrative employees, we needed to provide a lot of differentiation there because there was absolutely no differentiation. It was all based upon their number of days. And so if you were a 220 contract and you were a principal and a vice principal, you were both earning the same salary. That is not standard operating procedure. Usually your principal is a step above the assistant principal. And also director of special education positions are way and above that because there's an extra set of credentials and skill sets above a regular standard licensed administrator. So there is a differential there. If you look at the principal salaries, we tried to, there's a number of steps now where we didn't have steps before with the principals. Like I said, it was solely based upon the number of days. And we tried to place it to where it was still competitive with where it is now. So it's a little lower on step 1 and it's a little higher on step, I can't remember, was it 5 or 8? We'll have to look at the chart here in a second. But so, it's circling around where it currently is. Little differentiation again for vice principals and a larger differentiation for the director of special education. Classified, currently the district has 2 instructional assistant classifications, tier 1 and tier 2. And there really wasn't any defined difference between the two. What made you eligible for tier 2 versus tier 1? No definition. So what we did is we took the 2 tiers and we created 3, and with clear definitions described in the job descriptions. So a tier 1 instructional assistant would just be your regular classroom assistant. Tier 2 is more for your specialization IAs, like if you're qualify for title, like you have a AA degree or you have a work keys equivalent certification. And so you'll find like, your title assistants or your RTI assistants, people of that nature that have that next level of skills. And then tier 3 is reserved for those that are working with high needs students in your special ed department, just because of the scope of the work is much more different and more intense than a regular classroom aid. So we looked at comparison analysis in other districts and we tried to make it competitive, and notice that really the IA salaries definitely need to come up. Those were very, very low. And so there is an increase there, but it is very comparative with other districts. Transportation, this was a tough one. I spent a lot of time on trying to look at transportation. Right now we have a transportation department that serves not only our district, but Kings Valley School District and WLA. And that in itself is a heavy lift. And so that makes us pretty unique. There are other transportation departments that may take on another transportation department, but not with that amount of distance, physical distance. And so that adds new complex. Plus, we are a charter school and we're busing students from Walport and Philomath and Corvallis and Albany, Monroe, Junction City. They're going out on long runs twice a day. and oftentimes in inclement conditions. So we really felt that we needed to keep the bus driver rates the same. Um, and that was a very difficult call, because if you look at comparison districts, that is still on the high end. But I felt because of where we are and what we're requiring, what we're asking, like for instance, one of our comparison districts, believe it or not, was Ashland. Ashland, of course, has a lot more students. They've got a little over 2,000, but they're a comparison because they have the same size fleet. But their routes are much shorter. They're 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They're not your couple hours per route. And that's a different environment. And so we ask our drivers to travel the long miles, and that puts stress and strain on them. I just felt we needed to keep it where it is. Incentives. This will be part of the handbook. So the transportation incentives, we looked at a lot of comparison districts, and is very common now to have a sign-on bonus for transportation drivers, as well as a longevity bonus. So I'll be recommending in a part of the handbooks a $500 sign-on bonus and a $500 longevity bonus, starting with their fifth year of service. It's just another way to recognize and keep them within our district. Let's see, already talked about number 4. Another thing that will also be in the handbook is number 5, lunch compensation. The more we looked at this, the more that this doesn't work in terms of paying our classified people for a 30-minute duty-free lunch. Number 1, it violates BOLI law, and number 2, it violates board policy. And so what we did is, what is more standard operating procedure, which we have not been doing, is paying people for holidays. That falls within their calendar. So that'll be part of the handbook recommendation when it comes in front of you, that we eliminate the 30-minute paid lunch to comply with BOLI law, and we institute instead a paid holiday schedule based upon their work calendar. So if there's 5 holidays that fall within the work calendar, we pay them for 5 paid holidays. Right now the policy only addresses the 260 employees, and I know that's going to be part of the reset when we get to that policy also. That'll allow more flexibility. In fact, most districts don't even have a policy that addresses that, because it's addressed in the handbooks. Let's see. More stuff on that. Evaluations. Evaluation is a big thing, because I've had a lot of questions. Okay, if a person is being compensated this level for this particular position, how do we know they're actually doing the work they should be doing? Well, it's called evaluation. And thus far, the district has not had an appropriate evaluation system in place. There was a 2013 state law that came into play years ago in regards to specific ways of evaluating teachers and licensed administrators. And as far as I can tell, that has not been designed and or implemented at all in this district. So we've been working hard for the past 6 months to employ a new teacher and administrator evaluation system. And I'm pleased to say we just rolled that out this last week, and with goal setting, and we're going to be doing some official observations. We're using a product called Teach Boost, which is an electronic database management system that allows us to keep all of the records from evaluations, from observations, all those from final summary evaluations. In that, there's a number of state reports that we have to comply with at the state level that is based upon these evaluations and the structure. And it's been awful hard to fill out that state report, hasn't it, Laura? It's a lot of guessing right now because we don't have the proper structure in place, but we will by the end of this year. And that state report next fall should be easy peasy. Also, along with that is an evaluation for our classified and support staff, and that'll be rolled out in January. That's another part that the HR consultant really helped me with, and it'll be pretty easy tools to reach to. But I want to make sure that when we're in phase 2 and we meet with the employees, that we're showing the employees, okay, this is what your evaluation is going to look like. Here's what we expect of you. Those sorts of things. So it's very clear expectations in terms of the evaluation process. Keep in mind, evaluations is not about jumping out from behind a bush and saying, gotcha. It's about improvement. You know, it's about, okay, what do I need to improve in? How can I do my job better? What do I need to focus on? Those are all good things. Also, we are collaborating with the union, the teachers union, on this professional development training that will be required by law on this new evaluation system. In addition, also the development of it. So they have a say so in it. They can say that, oh, that may or may not work. Okay, let's talk about it. It has to be a collaborative process. Stipends. Stipends will really be a part of the negotiations process with the union. Right now, we're stipend happy and stipend heavy with no rhyme or reason and no consistency.
That's a good question there real quick.
Sure.
Stipends expire at the end of each year, correct?
Yes.
I don't remember approving stipends for this calendar year of this school year, so I'd like to know where we're stipend heavy at.
We're just simply, again, I've been telling people we're maintaining status quo until we get negotiations and the reset done. That's the best way to attack that right now. But no, there was no approval for stipends by the board.
So we haven't approved new stipends for this 2020, for 2022, 2023. Correct? Like there's not stipends attached to staff today.
Yes, there is. And it's a matter of past practice.
So we did approve some last board meeting.
Last board meeting. Well, we did for, yes, but those are the first
Yes.
ones we've done for this school
Yes,
year.
those are the first official ones.
First
Yes,
official ones we've done this year.
So there's
Yes.
unofficial ones that are being
Carried over.
carried over. Correct.
How can that be legal?
I guess,
There's nothing illegal about it.
Well, I mean, doesn't seem quite right that we're paying stipends when they've not been approved.
Well, I'm assuming they're approved in the past. I don't know what the history's been.
I sorry, I think that was my question is I was under the assumption that, actually, and I'll go back, I can look at my minutes, but I think in the past, some of the stipends that we had approved in last spring prior to leadership changes
Mhm.
was that those stipends were only to go to the end of June 30th, 2022. That they were to end at that point and not be carried over into further years. So I
Mhm.
think it's a knowledge thing on our part of, and maybe it's closing the gaps of knowledge, because I think that maybe we aren't understanding where those stipends are laying.
Let me look.
Okay,
Let me
thank
look.
you.
I've got the list on my desk and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Okay.
But yes, and if you look at stipends, we have a lot of inconsistency. There's like, for instance, special ed stipends that are still out there. One person's paid 9,000, one person's paid 5,800, another person's paying 6,500. Why? When the union agreed to stipend salary schedules, I think says 5,800. You know, so I don't understand those things and I don't know what the history is or why those decisions were being made. That's more of an example of a carryover. You know, because it's normal for a sped teacher to have usually a sped stipend that goes with that. But then the question is during negotiations, well, why don't we just roll a differential into if you're a sped teacher or a sped licensure rather than, you know, attaching a stipend? I mean, those types of discussions need to be had at the negotiations table.
Okay.
Yeah. Certified salaries, again, that's a negotiated thing. It's not part of the HR reset. And that's for the union to negotiate with the district. In my comparison with other districts in terms of the teacher salary schedule, it is low. And I think we certainly need to take a look at that. Timeline and retroactivity. I know this is probably going to be one of the most controversial subjects. I can tell you what I'm recommending and why, but it's really up to the board in terms of what you guys want to do in terms of timeline. So I'm recommending that any salaries that are increased are retroactive to July 1st, 2022. the main rationales that these people have been doing the work already. And I just feel it's the right thing to do. And any decreases will not take effect until January. When I initially wrote this, I was expecting to be to this point in October. So I know January is right around the corner, and if the board certainly wants to amend that, they certainly can. So that's my recommendation as to why, and that's up for the board to discuss and to figure out what you want to do with that. Funding. These have been tough conversations. I have lots of employees. You know, I've had employees say, well, I could just go out and earn this, you know, out in the, you know, in the community someplace. And yeah, you can. And we can't compete with that. We can't compete with the market rates. We can only compete with other public school institutions, because that's the level that the state is benefiting us in terms of revenue. We don't have the capacity to have a starting teacher salary of $75,000. I wish we could. Do they deserve it? In my opinion, yes, they do, but we just don't have the money. No school district really does. And so, you know, in terms of competing with the business market, it's just, you're talking apples and oranges. There's just no comparison there. We also have to keep in mind that, you know, we do pay PERS, which is still a powerful retirement system. And there's lots of benefits that we pay also in terms of insurance caps and things of that nature. So there's, you know, but every individual is going to have to make their decision in terms of where best to land and what's best for them and their family. Handbooks we've talked about. District cost. I've talked to Lorraine a lot about this, and there's absolutely no way I can sit in front of you today and say we're going to save, or it's going to cost us, or we're going to break even until these salary schedules are approved. We meet with every individual employee to make sure they're placed appropriately. Then we can crunch the numbers and see where we're at. Because right now it's really a guessing game. And Lorraine and I both feel and agree that there will be a savings. Just how much, I don't know. So I talked about next steps. We've already talked about that already. So in summary, you know, a lot of people say, well, why are we doing this? Well, one reason is to have a balanced salary and compensation package for our employee groups. Right now we have IAs that are earning more than beginning teachers. Beginning teachers with either bachelor's or master's degrees, that's not balanced. We have people that are doing the same job with different salary schedules. That's not appropriate. That actually violates the Oregon pay equity law. We have a lot of anomalies, like the stipends I said that we've got to solidify, and we have to make sure we're consistent, we're fair. That creates stability within a school district. It creates a lot of stability. And we want to make sure that things are stable. We're still competitive with other like or regionally competitive school districts. We have fair compensation packages. We're treating our employees correctly. It's not appropriate to paying some of our employees less than what you would earn at a fast food joint flipping burgers. I'm sorry, I keep using that analogy. I'm not putting down burger workers at all. But, you know, we entrust our people to work with one of our most precious commodities, and that's kids. Kids are much more important than a hamburger or a metal part or something of that nature. And when you're working with kids, that's something we really appreciate. And it takes a certain skill set to be able to do that. And we need to make sure that we're paying our people appropriately. Also, we need to be fiscally accountable to taxpayers. That's a huge one. We need to be demonstrating that. We can't have frivolous salary packages. We can't have people earning dollars with a job they're actually not doing. Just the title was attached to them for some reason. We have to have some responsibility and accountability to public taxpayers. Also, we need to make sure we uphold the pay equity legal requirements. That's really a big one, and that's recent legislation. We can't have a male and a female earning different salaries doing the same job. unless it's a negotiated salary schedule where one is more experience and more education than the other one. I mean, that's perfectly within the pay equity realm with a negotiated salary schedule like for a teacher. And the same thing with these salary schedules. You know, you're still going to have differentials. One person might be in first year IA, so they get, you know, first year tier 1. Another person might come in and they've had 10 years of experience as an IA, so they get bumped all the way up to step 8, you know, as an IA. So you can have those differentials, but still that's within the pay equity purview. So let's kind of go through these salary schedules to make sure I kind of hit the highlights. So on page 7 of the proposed salary schedule, you'll see the principals. So you got building principal and assistant principal. Principals are, it's standard operating procedure that they're at 220 day contract throughout the year. And you can see that step 1 through step 5. You can see what the comparisons are for the building principal, and there's a differentiation between the principal and the assistant principal. Step 3 on the principal is basically what a 220 is being paid right now. And then you have a special education director. Of course, that is a little on the higher realm because it's a different set of skills and abilities and certifications. And they're normally on a 240 contract because they deal with extended school year during services during the summertime with students that need it according to their IEPs. And so they usually have a longer calendar year. Then your business manager, we looked at comparisons and we came up with this salary schedule, and that's normally a 260 contract because, you know, even when school's not in session, there's a lot of reporting and auditing and a lot of different behind the scenes accountabilities that go with that position.
Do you
So-
want us to ask questions? I was gonna say, do we want to pause for questions at each
However you
page?
want to.
Okay, go ahead, Deb.
So on the building assistant principal, I see there's no comparison there, no number.
We couldn't get any comparisons from the districts we talked to. And we know there is a differential there.
So just one thing I've noticed in reading all of the salary schedules. Admin seems to be a little bit above what the comparisons low to high.
Mhm,
So your building principal, you've got them starting at 88
mhm,
instead of 87, which I mean, isn't much money. But when you're adding 3 of them in there, that's adding extra money. So
mhm,
in my opinion, I think they need to go back to the bottom. It needs to start at the bottom of the comparison and work their way up to the top of the comparison.
mhm,
And it seems to me in a lot of the admin that is been kind of normal on these pieces of paper
mhm,
that I've seen. Their comparisons, they're above their comparisons, starting at the low, working their
Mhm.
way up.
mhm,
And so I've said all along in being a board member that we are top heavy. We have way too many admin. And I just think this is again, another one of those things that, you know, I would rather see the extra $1,000 go
Mhm.
to the people that
Mhm.
are working with our kids in the classrooms
Mhm.
instead of going to a principal.
mhm.
That's just my personal opinion. So
And also realize that we are looking at, we're heavy on admin right now. And, you know, what I've been saying all along is that we have a lot of heavy lifting right now and I need all hands on deck. Next year it's going to look a lot different. And we are already going to be eliminating one of the learn at home administrative positions. And I can tell you there'll probably be another elimination here shortly in terms of cutting back on admin for next year.
well, we need to at these salary schedules. I mean, these are huge. And so I just would like to see these scaled back. So I realize that special education director needs more because their credentials are more. But if you look at the comparison, you've got them as starting on step 1 at 98 when the comparison is 88. That's 10,000. So let them start at the 88 and with their credentials and their ongoing education, let them step up. So start them where the comparison starts and then let them work up, because
Right.
that's what we do, instead of starting high to work up even higher.
But you also have a 240 instead of a 220.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're gonna have to be somewhat more because they're
20 extra days.
20 extra days.
Well, my understanding from the special education director that we have, she doesn't want 240. Right now, she wants 220.
But
That's not
we-
our problem.
Well,
yeah.
but
Our
I'm just
problem is
saying,
they're supposed to
they
work
don't.
240.
oh, see, and I was told they only needed 220.
No,
Well, this is gonna be, I mean, we have to go by this if this is what we vote in.
Well, okay, but
And I
I'm,
would say that my opinion on that is, that's an operational concern. If that employee doesn't want that kind of a contract, that's something they
Mhm.
need to be working with the superintendent on. That's not,
I agree with that. However, this is saying 240, 98,000, but it's saying 240 at 88,000 is the comparison. It doesn't have the 220 there for comparison. So that's what I'm saying. If it's 240, comparison would not be 88 to start. It would be 220 at 88 to start.
But
So
it's
this
just a
is saying
comparison.
240, 98, 88 to start.
I would think that it's a comparison, it isn't a given.
But why are we starting this position 10,000 over the comparison when this other position, we're starting 1,000 over its comparison? So we're basing these off of comparisons.
well, maybe that's a question, Sean, that you can answer for us. When you sat down and you looked at comparisons versus where we're at and then building a step process, because correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't have a step process before.
Correct.
So how did you go about setting up the step wages for this when looking at the comparisons?
that's what I'm looking at right now.
So
Um,
that's just my point is, this is our comparison. This is what we have
Yeah,
for
I
data.
just know we talked about a 220 and this is now moved up to a 240. So I
Right,
don't
but-
know if,
But
Yeah,
wouldn't the
so-
comparison be different?
So
that's what I don't know. Yeah.
there's different number of days in the comparison. And the 88 is coming from a 220 contract, not a 240.
So then the data we have isn't correct.
Well,
On
I'm
this
just
HR
saying,
paper.
the comparison districts are 240, 220, 233, 260, 230, 230. So different districts look at it a little differently. What I'm here to say is if you have a special ed director that only works 220, then they're not overseeing the summer school, the extra school year program that is required by law and by IEPs. That's a problem. You need to have more than 220 for any sped director.
So then our comparison on here needs to be different
Well,
to
I'm
get
not,
the correct information.
I'm not sure how you,
You'd have to have the tables like. Sean
Yeah,
has
you'd
it.
have to have the
Yeah.
days to the,
yeah,
For
to the
ease of
salary.
for ease of view, I think the way I see the comparison is when you look at these school districts that were looked at, they're paying anywhere from 88 to 126,
Mhm,
dependent on the contract they have the person under.
yeah,
Yes.
correct.
On
Well-
top of, we don't even get to 126, we get to a 111.
right.
Well,
So I mean, that's
just
just that's a hard one because it's such a big range.
right, but what I'm
comparison.
looking at is the data that's been given to me. So
Sure.
they're saying 240 at 98, but the comparison says 88. So then that isn't correct information.
But the 88 comes from a 220. And what we're proposing is a 240.
Okay, so then I
That-
guess
that's
we
the
needed
difference.
that information.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Right. And the other districts are starting well into the hundreds on the first step, and that's not where we're at. We're starting at 98.
Um, I think, so one of the questions I have, and I do totally understand that job descriptions are not something that we approve. I have looked at the administrator's job descriptions, and I would anticipate that when you have salary schedules, I do understand everybody's role is different, but I could be an IA and Deb could be an IA, and our roles might be very different, even though we're on the same job description. We might have different things that we get assigned to us. So the first part of the job descriptions are pretty generic. However, the qualifications are not different for any of our administrators. What's the reasoning behind that? I would, like, I would expect that the principal job description would state that there was, it was required to have leadership experience in the past versus your assistant principal is getting into a leadership position, so they probably weren't required to have that. So what's
You have
the,
those two printed out.
yeah, I have all three of them.
Give me one.
They're on page 3.
And actually, most of the HR, those are all that way. Not
So-
all the same description, but for each individual. So when I went through and read, this block versus they're all that way.
So if you look at our page, oh, maybe it's page 4.
You're talking about these qualifications?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm looking at education and or experience, these qualifications that allow them, those are the same for all 3 of the admin positions. And Deb's right, there are many situations that
Mhm.
the educational requirements and situations, regardless of the salary schedule and the pay structure, the job description qualifications are the same. And so for me, that feels very subjective. And if I hire Amy versus Joe,
Mhm.
it's very subjective to me then how they fit into this job description when
Mhm.
there's qualifications that are very similar between tiers and structures.
Well, the education or experience is the same for both principal and vice principal. It says minimum 5 years of experience in public education, including teaching or supervision.
Bless you.
Master's degree, education preferred, valid license in school administration. That is the minimum standards for any building level administrator. Now, if you want to differentiate between a principal and a vice principal by saying, needs to have more experience or maybe experience as a vice principal, we certainly could, differentiate that.
Mhm.
You're going to seriously narrow your pool. Because oftentimes you'll see people coming, especially for LC, you'll see people coming directly out of administrative school, looking at a principal position. It's very common right now. And not going through a vice principal position. But we could make that distinction.
I'm looking at the salary schedule and using the job descriptions as a driver to
Mhm.
understand the
Mhm.
salary schedules.
Your vice principal is going to
So-
basically do the same types of duties as a principal, except the level of experience and the level of complexity and the responsibility is different between the two. That's why there's a differentiation between that.
In the job functions and responsibilities.
Mhm.
Okay.
I could look at beefing these up if you'd like.
Well, it should be different. If you're paying your principal higher than your vice principal, then
Mhm.
they shouldn't be the same.
At least preferences, right? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's what I think of as like, I prefer this, but I could hire
Yeah.
this.
So I'm just gonna take my experiences. When I look at cooks and I'm looking to hire a cook, if I take one that has just come out of school and doesn't really know what they're doing, but they're learning
Mhm.
versus somebody that has come out of school and they've worked 10 years in a restaurant and they know how to jump in and just do the job.
Mhm.
I'm gonna pay this person more.
Mhm.
This person less until they earn their way up there.
Yeah.
And so to me, when I look at this, it is a little bit alarming to me that one, the job description really isn't different from one to another, their qualifications, because they should be. If you're gonna make more money, your qualifications should be stronger. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
and earn that more money versus, just coming out of school. Yes, we want those people because then we
Mhm.
can mold them into what we really want them to be instead of
Mhm.
having some maybe bad habits
Mhm.
that we have to break. And so I just don't think that's very balanced.
Mhm.
That's how
Okay,
I-
we can add some differentiation there, like in the preferred section, say we prefer that a principal has vice principal experience. We can add more enhancement to that, so it shows there's a differentiation.
I think
So
so.
this might be getting way out, but what if we don't have a principal and a vice principal? What if we just have a principal?
That's kind of
Correct.
how I feel.
Correct.
So do we start them, even if they're new, do we start them at the top or do we start them as vice principal?
I think they
Because
need
you
to
can't. I mean,
start where they education and experience puts them in.
I understand, but if you have one position and one person and they're new, they can't start as a vice principal. They have to start as a principal.
Yes, you have to have a
So
principal.
you're starting, your salary's too high. Right?
Kind of.
Yeah.
You
I
would-
mean, if we're gonna start,
Well, and
doing
that's,
that.
that's just that. If we, and I do believe we're gonna be back to that before long. And our salaries are too high
Mhm,
to start people that are new in those positions.
mhm. And so maybe a thought is starting the positions at a lower and giving them just like anybody else with experience, the more education, the more experience,
higher on the tiers.
higher on the
Steps.
and check off the box. If you check off the box, you get paid for it. If you check off the box, you get paid for it. So I agree that we maybe should go a little lower on the on the salaries and let them check off the boxes and make more money.
So we could go to 8 steps on administrative and just start simply lower to where the 8th step matches step 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
We could
That's
do
Because
that.
you can always go up.
Yeah,
Right.
we could do that.
But Ristine's
So
not
we-
gonna like it if
I'm not-
I
I didn't say
take the money
anything.
away from her.
I'm just saying, we get a new guy, we're paying him
She
98,000.
just got a new job and, they aren't gonna like take her money away.
I-
So,
It's like I was even watching my nonverbal communication and everything.
no, it was there. I saw
No,
it.
I mean, it's definitely a thought in my mind as we discussed that, but I mean, I think that's why we're having the discussion.
Yeah,
When you bring people in and there's a step process to whatever it is, don't you allow them normally to negotiate to get into steps? Maybe you don't give them exactly what they want, but isn't that normal? It used to be.
it's normal to credit if somebody comes in and they're a principal and they've been a principal in another district for 3 years. It's normal to start them on step 4 because they've had 3 years of the exact same experience.
Mhm.
If they're coming in and they've had experience similar to being a principal, that's when it gets a little not so black and white. Sometimes you do negotiate a little bit, sometimes you
Right.
say, no, we're just
Sure.
gonna start you at step 1. It just depends, and so yes, you're right. That's exactly how we place people on the salary schedules.
And
So I would like to see, me personally, maybe a bigger step platform
Yeah,
for
we could do that.
employees to have a beginner
Yeah.
and let them,
Yeah.
between their education and years of experience, check off the box and make a little more money.
Yeah.
Because I just have a problem with these dollars.
Well, if we don't have that position, then we have to start the new guy out at 98,000.
Right,
No,
and that's, because
not
that's what,
unless, not unless they've had that amount of experience.
But I mean, not 98,
88.
88.
Yeah, I was gonna say. we
So
could
88, not, I was looking at special
it
education.
it
but
just seems like.
Yeah.
it-
88.
So if you're wanting the bottom to come down, we could expand it to 8 steps, keep step 8 the same as step 5, as you see right there. But that would push down step 1 to be a lower start.
Yeah, and that's what I think we need to do. And I think that's part of our problem right now is we're so top heavy that I just feel like we're getting ready to
Mhm.
leaning tower of Pisa and we're gonna crash.
I want to time check us just a little bit. So we only have 13 minutes
Mhm.
in this work session, 12 minutes now. I don't think we should be voting on this tonight. I'm gonna be super honest. I know we want things done. I know that we want the staff to have organization and expectations and we want to get things fair, but I feel like we're rushing a vote. That's my opinion.
Well, I just don't think this piece of paper is where I'm comfortable to make that decision
If we
today.
went to 8 steps, would that be the direction you want?
I would really like to see these numbers go down, yes. I just think, starting somebody out walking fresh in the door at almost $90,000 is a lot of money. I mean, and it isn't just the building principal and the vice principal, but I mean, I don't know where the special education director starts at. I don't know. I mean, that just seems really high to me.
Well, like I said, the
And the
comparisons,
business manager, I mean, that seems really high to me.
actually
so-
not on business manager, it's pretty low.
So I would like to see, maybe, oops, that's not what I wanted.
The comparisons for sped director start at 121, 115, 108, 120. And here we're starting ours at 98.
Yeah, well, I would like to see beginner steps in
Yeah,
even
I
those.
could, yeah, I could do that.
Because I know not everybody coming out of school's got 30 years experience.
Mhm.
And so I would like to see those bottom line numbers come down.
So I'll redo this for 8 steps and that'll push that bottom down. That sound like what you want?
That sounds exactly like what I wanted. And I'm talking, the entire upper staff of our school, all of the admin staff,
Mhm, mhm.
not just, I mean, I know we can't really do that for teachers because that's not the union's job, not mine.
That would be negotiations.
Right, and so, but with any of our positions, that's what I would like to see.
Mhm. Okay.
Not that I don't think our pupils in classes deserve it, but
I think,
Does that transpire into the other salary schedules?
well,
for me, it does.
I would like to see, so we did a lot of comparison in the other salary schedules with other school districts. And also, I would like to know if we looked at the private market at all. I'm looking at some of
No.
this and going, that's higher than I pay in the private market.
Well,
Which is
executive,
Typically, government's lower than the private market,
Yeah, it's much lower.
but some
but
of
you
these are
also-
higher.
Yeah,
I would say that our, when we look at being admin top heavy, I would say that I think that some of our, in this salary schedule right here,
Mhm.
I would say that our assistants and the admin assistants look to be starting higher than what we would pay in the private sector.
mhm.
I would, and that's a feeling, so I'd like to have data on that.
Yeah, we haven't gathered data on that. How do you compare that? What would you look at in terms of the private sector? Because, public education jobs are very unique in comparison with private sector. What would you want us to compare it to?
Guess I'm looking for you to have that information. I mean, I feel like
Well,
when
I'm
I'm
struggling
when
with
I'm
even
hiring
finding it.
with my organization
Right.
for, things like that, I'm going, gosh. Like, I'm not gonna tell my coordinators pay on a live meeting, but I know that like my coordinator that handles all of my administrative duties is definitely lower than these sections. And so I'm just kind of wondering what that looks like because this isn't meant to be a cost savings at the same time, we're not meant to do that, but if we're looking at being fair and equitable and to those who are teaching the students and those aren't, then are we doing that?
think
I don't
we
know.
are.
And if that's something that the union wants us to be considering and that's something to be taken into account, then
Are you talking union or non-union?
I'm talking, if the teachers are union and if we're looking at the difference between our union employees and our non-union employees and what's
Mhm.
fair, are we looking at that across the board or are we only looking at the person that's in the classroom with them? Or are we looking at the person that's in the school with them?
We're looking at across the board. I'm perplexed,
Okay, so if we look
very
at,
perplexed.
okay, so if we look
I'm
at
kind of confused.
our salary schedules for union employees, so just for a BA,
certified.
for the certified.
Yep,
So we're looking at,
and that's low.
I understand that.
Yes,
We're looking at just a straight BA. Step one is 39,746.
correct.
But we're looking at an administrative assistant, an executive assistant that's at 58,240.
Mhm.
How is that pay equity?
Comparisons for the similar positions are $19 to $35 an hour.
No.
No,
Which position? look at?
Sorry. I was looking at the executive assistant, but we can look at that one because that one actually is fine too. So the administrative assistant to the district office, if we look at a 260 is 53. So I guess where we're talking about where we're looking at comparisons and being equitable across the board,
Mhm.
I'm not seeing it from my side of things.
Okay,
I'm not,
Neither.
I guess either that teacher's pay needs to bump way up
it does.
or
And that's why.
we
we're
bring
gonna-
things way down, but then that also brings me to the other conversation of, do we bring things way down when we possibly are gonna go into negotiations with teachers where they might go way up, and that doesn't
Correct.
feel fair and equitable to people that we just brought way down. You know what I mean?
Correct. I guess I've been
Because
building
there's
this,
too many things in flux, and you have been doing a lot of work, and
I've been building this assuming that in negotiations, that teacher salary schedule will come up because it's way low. And so I haven't been using that as a comparison to where we're going with this. Because I know it's low.
So I got a question. When we're talking about our comparisons, we're comparing with Philomath, Corvallis, Albany, because that's who when we was here before, we compared with 1As.
I think that did happen also, but
Yeah, I think so.
And-
didn't it?
We really didn't compare with any of Corvallis or Albany.
Right.
Philomath, we may have a bit. And I think to go compare against 4A and 5A schools, there's no comparison.
We know that they're high and that was the
And we
comparison.
can't compete with that.
No, we can't. And that's not what this is. We're not trying to compete with that, but we needed to have those comparisons so we knew kind of where they were at, and then we adjusted it down from there. So we didn't say we're gonna try and match Albany. We're gonna try and match.
I don't think you
Philomath.
match any of them.
No, you can't match those.
No,
We
there's
look
no way.
more- We look more at the small school districts in terms of
We
match.
kind of got to live within where our means are.
Correct.
So for me to even hear Corvallis and Albany come into the discussions is a bit out there.
Well, okay, let me give you this example. Albany, special ed director, step one, 121,000. Do you see us starting our sped director at 120? No, we went
I-
way below that.
As those said, we shouldn't even be comparing there.
but I think we did more than just geographical location. We did our representative look at other 1As also?
The ones that would respond. We had trouble getting them to respond to us.
Who do we have on that list?
It depends on,
Does it depend on the job?
we got Junction City,
3, 4.
that's 3A, 4A. We tried to reach out to Triangle Lake and all those, and we did not receive any kind of a,
Isn't their
response
salary
from them.
schedules public information?
well, yeah, but you have to request it from them. And they basically said they didn't have enough time. We really had struggled in terms of getting
Hmm.
salary schedules. But yes, it is public information.
So one of the things I would like to know in this also is in our summary, where we're looking at, balanced salaries and compensation packages and uphold pay equity legal requirements. I think, and it wouldn't obviously be for this evening, but I'd like to know what moves from where it is today to the future and meets those needs of being in compliance and lessening our risk of legal, backlash, to get us into a safe spot. What does that look like? I don't know what the consequence of only changing a few positions looks like either, and I just would like the information on where that's at. If that makes sense.
No, doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Can you explain that again?
Yeah, so
To get us into compliance.
what needs to change to get us into compliance? Obviously, not everything needs to change to get us into compliance. But if we only changed what got us legally compliant and in a good space, what would that look like? And I think I don't think we have that information this evening. That would probably require a little bit of analysis.
That requires some analysis in terms of legal compliance. Just how long do you want to continue with an unbalanced salary schedule? And, I must say that I really feel that this is a balanced proposal. We can certainly make a bunch of tweaks to it and whatever one board would like to do, but I feel there's enough research that went into this that we're trying to maintain competitiveness as well as comparisons. We have to compete against Philomath. We have to compete against Corvallis. We have to compete against Albany. And no, we're not matching their salaries, not by any means, but we need to know what is the comparison with where they're at. And we did adjust down on all capacities for that.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say we have to compete with them because we can't. So
No,
I
we're
just
not.
don't think that that's fair to say. I mean, I think it's fair to say that we could compete with Triangle Lake because they're the same similar school, but there's no way we can fairly say to compete with Corvallis. I mean, if
That's not what
somebody
I'm-
wants to move to Corvallis and, you know, have that big school, then, you
But
know,
with all due respect, we're not trying to compete with.
Yeah, we
Corvallis.
can't.
We can't.
no,
And that's what I'm trying to say, but we
Yeah.
needed to gather the data so we knew where they were at.
yeah,
And so we can take a look, because, you know, you go out for a new principal and you're gonna have to compete with these people. You also have to keep in mind, we live in an isolated community and
mhm,
there's not exactly housing galore out here. People are gonna have to travel. And so all those things have to be looked at.
but
And
that's also part of their contract negotiations in their contract if they're gonna travel. So,
I don't know of anybody that's receiving travel stipends.
but if they, but say somebody's coming in and applying for a job
Mhm.
and they have all the boxes checked, then they get to negotiate their income. Right?
Well,
On travel.
on
Well,
travel,
on their, just on their income.
it's gonna be based upon this.
Yeah.
Their experience.
Mhm. But, so,
I'm not
okay, so
sure what you're saying.
let's talk about you and your contract.
Yep.
So you get travel expense.
No.
You don't get travel expense? Your
Well,
Reimbursement for my.
I get reimbursement if I am on district business. Yes,
Okay,
but not coming to and from LC.
okay.
No.
For some reason, I thought you were.
Uh-uh. no,
Okay,
No.
some reason I thought that was part of it.
Uh-uh.
So, but I'd have to go back and look at it. It's not
Okay.
part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
If I'm missing something, I'll certainly. Just kidding. No, I do not receive that.
Okay, all right.
Only if
We-
if I'm district business, and that's not very often.
I know, I was just gonna say, we do need to move into regular session. And let's open that with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The first topic is going to be the approval of the agenda. Are there any modifications that anybody would like to make?
Well, I just would like to ask if we're needing to change the vote on the HR reset after our discussion today, or is that for when we get there?
No, we would do it now.
So I would like to change the fact that we will not vote on the HR reset today and put it off even for a special session if need be. But I am not ready or prepared to vote on approval, or I don't think I have enough information.
I would agree with you. I would say we'd like, I would even say that we should probably put an action on there to vote on a work session, because I think we need longer to really digest and talk through some of this stuff.
So I'd like to make a motion to do a work session or a special session to work on some more information for our HR reset.
So we would scratch B essentially and add L to include a work session, voting on a work session date and time. Does that capture that?
Yes.
Would we want to work in a special so we could do it afterwards, or we want to wait till next month? I guess what is our time frame? Were you guys thinking?
Well, I kind of feel like that we need to work on this month. Because I know this is something that kind of needs to get done. And so I personally am okay with any kind of a work session between now and Christmas Eve.
And then bring it back the next regular session.
Mhm.
We'll scratch the vote for the HR reset. We'll put a vote for a date and time for the work session. And we can always add a special session on, we can add a planned special session and cancel it if we don't need it.
Okay,
That's totally appropriate for us
so
to
I
do.
would like to make a motion to approve the agenda with that change to the HR reset salaries approval.
I'll second that. Robert, Deb,
Yes.
Christine is yes, Linda,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
all right. Next, sorry, a lot of scrolling this evening. Is our district recognition for Learn at Home, is what I see.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we should have Heather Shunk on the monitor there. Heather, you there?
Hi, good evening, everyone. But I think Tim will be presenting for our staff member and I'll be presenting for the students. So I don't know which you would like to go first, but we're good to go either way.
Let's get Tim on here.
Hello.
Hello, Tim.
All right, I'll get started off with our staff. And what I'd like to do is hopefully up on the display would have Mr. Barr.
It should be on the display behind.
Oh,
Is Mr. Barr on there?
Well, as we get that up and going, Mr. Barr is the staff member that our admin team chose to recognize this month. And Mr. Barr has been quite our exceptional staff member. He's been getting more and more involved in our school and community. He actually attended Mr. Gallagher's fireside chat. He has been doing our SPED, and here, because of our situation of having a staff member resign, and David's licensure also covers our gen ed. We discussed with David and have created a plan for David to step into and take over our sixth grade class. And so being willing and able to jump in and help out our program wherever it's needed is something that we truly appreciate from David. And definitely we look forward to see him in his new role. And we just want to reach out and tell you, Mr. Barr, we really appreciate you stepping up for our program.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tim, and the whole admin team. For me personally, it'll be a challenge, but Mr. Gallagher, like you said at the beginning of the year, it's all about the kids, and we really embody that. And I know anybody else would do that, and because we have such a strong staff, I'm able to. So thank you to everybody.
So I can say personally that Mr. Barr was a delight at our superintendent fireside chat the other night. It was very nice to get to know him. And I could definitely tell that he has a passion for kids, and he's got a lot of drive when it comes to kid success. And so congratulations, Dave. We're very proud of you. Let's give him a round of applause. Also, Dave, we got a certificate of appreciation we'll be mailing to you, okay? I can't fit it through the internet.
all right.
Okay, Heather?
All right, well, we have a long list and I provided our slide deck that we used for the month of November for our collective growth in the character trait of optimism, which was brought to us by our first graders. Each of our grade levels chose a character trait, and so that was optimism. So we celebrated collective growth, and I don't know if that slide deck made it into. I know it was on the agenda, but I'm not sure if it made it in to be able to be shown and presented.
It did. I did see it and it looked
Okay.
amazing. Thank you.
Oh, good. Perfect. Okay, well, I'll just quickly read through the slides and we can celebrate all of this wonderful growth. So for Miss Waverick's kindergarten class, she said the entire class grew in optimism, and that was exciting. For Miss Parsons' kindergarten class, she recognized Jade Montiel for optimism. For let's see, Miss B's class, she recognized Jasper Estes. And for Miss Taglia's first grade class, she recognized everyone, and especially Emma Palmatier. Here we go. Wonderful, our staff of the month, Dave, who that was absolutely well deserved, and we're so grateful for him, and for Miss Bozer, who was a previous staff of the month. They recognized Gabe Dom and Destiny Winton. For our second grade class, Madeline Miller. For our third grade class, Daphne Velick. For the fourth grade, Miss Naylor recognized the entire fourth grade class. And for fifth grade, Noah Doyle. For sixth grade, Ava Blank. For seventh grade, Lorelai Lewis Williams. And for eighth grade, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Goffin. I had practiced that and I didn't know if I was going to say that correctly, so I hope I did okay. But anyways, we want to just congratulate all of our students for building that personal characteristic trait, which leads you through and navigate through challenges with strength. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
And congratulations to all the students. All right, up next is our superintendent report, Mr. Gallagher.
Okay, in terms of the HR reset, the only other thing that I wanted to add, maybe it's not there. No, if it's not there, then we're not going to talk about it.
What is it?
It's a first break all the rules.
Oh, yeah.
It's
it was there.
Was it there?
It's under the work session at the very top.
Oh, okay. Got it in the wrong spot. Oh, yeah, the measuring stick.
Yep.
So yeah, if you could take a look at that really quick.
I saw that.
This is from a book called First Break All the Rules, published by the Gallup organization. And they did a nationwide
Did you see
survey in terms of what really works to keep longevity of employees. And it's things, and they narrowed it down to this list of 12, such things like, do I know what's expected of me at work? Well, that's job descriptions that we've been working on. Do I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right? Well, that's also tied to budget, making sure that everybody has the tools they need. At work, do I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day? You know, and that has more of a management style of let people do what they need to do and support them in every way. The last 7 days, I received recognition or praise for doing the work. That's also a management tool. It's very important. Does my supervisor or someone at work seem to care about me as a person? That's really that relationship building that needs to occur also through the evaluation process of giving them good feedback. Is there someone at work who encourages my development? Well, that's directly tied to professional development, which we're taking a look at right now. At work, do my opinions seem to count? Well, that's where we embrace people to speak up, to talk, to let us know how they're feeling, what they need. What does the mission and purpose of my company make me feel my job is important? Kind of like David Barr even talked about. It's all about the students. Are my coworkers committed to doing quality work? That's how we try and empower people to try and motivate them. Do I have a best friend at work? That one's kind of the most controversial one. But, those relationships with coworkers is very important. And that's really what it's talking about there. The last 6 months, as someone at work talked to me about my progress. That's the evaluation system. This last year, I had opportunities to work to learn and grow. Again, that's tied to professional development. So one thing I've always talked to people about is notice that doesn't have anything to do with salary. But the book does clearly define that salary is the ticket in the ballgame. And like the ticket inside the door. If you think about going to a ball game, when you get in the ball game, you want to be able to see what's going on in the field. You don't want two rowdy people around you where you can't hear the ball game. You want to, you think of that environment. And that's what the measuring stick is about, because that's going to keep you in the ball game. But salary is the ticket to get you even into the ball game to begin with. And so that's why it's important with our HR reset to maintain the mindset of we have to be fair, we have to be competitive in terms of our salary structures. So that's the only thing I'm going to add on that. And then I do believe we have, Nathan, if you could set up that PowerPoint for me. By the way, what's scrolling behind me is all the photos from the OSU Student Day. So we had a lot of our students take pictures, and those pictures highlighting them being on campus at Oregon State University, going to the ball game, having that on-campus university experience. So what I have prepared for you here is a quick legislative and school funding update. Those of you in internet land, it's not in the board books yet, but will be after this meeting. I just came from these meetings, and so this is really hot off the press. So let's briefly talk really quick. Yep, that's it right there. Goodness, throw all that stuff at you. There we go. Just gonna click through it. Oh, yes, thank you. The end all microphone. Testing. Okay. So Governor-elect Kotek and legislature. Keep in mind, there's 3 priorities that the governor has stated. That's housing, healthcare, and education. So it's nice to be in the top 3 there. But also keep in mind that she's going to be working with the legislature where there's been a historic turnover. 33 lawmakers are brand new in the state legislature, 26 out of 60 in the House, 7 out of 30 in the Senate. That's a lot of change and a lot of new faces and people that haven't had direct experience as a legislature yet. State budget, the current biennium is for the state school fund is $9.3 billion. Now, it just was announced officially yesterday that they're really looking at $9.56 billion, which is only a 2.3% increase. I don't know about you, but I don't think the cost of living in the last year or so has only been reduced to 2.3%. We have significant roll-up costs, whether it's, fuel or food or all those different sorts of things, PERS, healthcare, the whole bit. So we all know that 2.3% simply is just not going to do it. Also keep in mind the current state financial scenario that they're expecting is a mild recession, also rising unemployment. And keep in mind when people are unemployed, they're not paying income taxes. And now during COVID, believe it or not, there was an unanticipated revenue of $6.15 billion over the 21 to 23 projections. That's a historic amount. And so there's going to be record kickers according to state law. 3.6 billion is going to personal kickers and 1.3 to corporate kickers. So the district needs OASBO, which is the Association of School Business Managers. They went through and they analyzed 40 different districts statewide, and they took a whole plethora of them. Large, small, rural, metropolitan, you name it. And after they analyzed those 40 different districts, they came up with, we need 10.3 billion just to break even with the current increase in costs. Now, the quality education model, which was established by the state legislature in the late 90s, is required through a committee that is formed at the state level that analyzes what they feel are the needs of a school district to meet what are state requirements. So it's a little different litmus test. And they're estimating that schools need 11.89 billion to be able to meet state standards of what needs to occur. So those are two very good estimates. And when we look at the the increase of 2.3%, that's just not going to do it. So OSBA and COSA are preparing to aggressively take the message of this need to Governor-elect Kotek and also legislators. Right now, the need for advocacy is great. Legislatures need to hear the stories. They need to hear the stories of Alsea. They need to hear the stories of Philomath. They need to hear the stories of not only rural schools, but metropolitan schools. They need to hear the stories from across the state. I don't know about the current legislative assembly, but in the past, it's always been less than 5% of state legislatures having any kids in school. And oftentimes they'll say, well, it's been 20 years since I've stepped foot in a school. And so I think it's hard for them to really understand what we're dealing with and the increased requirements. So some key dates we need to keep in mind is January 17th, legislative session begins. February 1st, the governor's budget will be released. So it'll be interesting to see. Now the governor's budget is just a budget. The legislative assembly is not bound by that budget by any means. And then June 15th is the targeted sign die, the end of the session, although they have until June 25th by law to actually complete everything. So if we're thinking about advocacy, there's advocacy through our representations such as OSBA, COSA, OASBO, et cetera. Also through your local school superintendent, me. Also discussions and board meetings. I think it's important once the legislative assembly gets going, we start talking about these things as a board. We can also make phone calls to legislatures. You can write letters. Participation and visit your legislature day in Salem. A lot of times that's very effective. Also being willing to testify in committee hearings in Salem is also effective. And that can be coordinated through OSBA because they're always looking for people to come and say, this is what's going on in LC, or this is what's going on in Madras, or we need help with this. You know, it's important the legislatures hear those messages. And we always have to remember that it's all about the students. That's what we're really here for. So I got to say, in the number of years I've been a school superintendent, this is pretty standard, where the estimate starts low and the negotiations start and you find some happy medium, but it takes advocacy. It really does. And our voices do count. And I know one of our legislators, I can't remember his name, has reached out to me already, would like to come visit our school district. I said, anytime, anywhere, love to see you. I'll let you know when we arrange something like that, because he needs to see Alsea, you know, of what we're dealing with, the challenges we have. And the wonderful things that we are doing for kids. And so anyway, that's kind of where we're at with the state budget. All right, next is, we should have Sarah Littlefield on there, Nathan. Oh, Sarah Littlefield.
Sarah, can you do the hand raise so I can find you?
Mhm.
No, that's not it. Yeah, it must be just in the board packet.
It's just a letter.
Yeah.
Sarah, if you're online, you can go ahead and unmute and join us. Or raise your hand if we didn't unmute the right Sarah. do you want to, are you able to start her report for us today?
I could
maybe?
try.
Do you want to read it? It's right here.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay.
But thank you.
I met the guy today from Vina Moses.
We did?
Super, super nice guy.
Yes, yes,
He was super excited to come out here.
yes, absolutely. So anyway, Sarah Littlefield is our family liaison, and we're very fortunate to have her. And we're reaching out with our grant writer to find lots of grants to support her program. She's really in charge of McKinney-Vento students, homeless students, as well as identifying families in need. And so right now she has a number of families she's trying to find resources for. She's partnering with Vinamosis and Corvallis. And she's actually wanting to bring more of a Vinamosis type footprint here in LC. Vinamosis really is helping to supply school-age children that qualify with things such as clothing, school supplies, gift certificates for shoes. I think Sarah has given out 56 or 58 bags this year of supplies, including gift certificates for kids that need shoes. I think it kind of give you, if we remember, we only have a little over 260 brick and mortar students. And when she's given out 56 to 58 bags, it kind of gives you an idea about what's going on in our community. There's lots of needs out there. And so some of these grants she's been applying for, we have a lot of hope with, and there'll be grants to find ways to supply even more resources to these kids. And so she's always finding other organizations such as the Assistance League of Corvallis, which is a nonprofit entitled Transforming the Lives of Children and Adults for Community Programs. The law kind of, or the description, the letter talks about the Corvallis Alliance League. There's a website, and there's another Operation School Bags for LC students. I know she's given out a lot of backpacks. And so there's more to just the outreach piece with supplies and tactile things. There's also a lot of help in terms of counseling, in terms of encouragement. She's a go-to person for a lot of these students that are homeless. They may or may not have that parental influence at home that they need to be able to deal with, simple things such as what's going on as I get older. Why am I feeling these feelings? I'm feeling depressed, or I'm struggling in class, or, and she's able to link those kids with different resources. So again, I just wanted to expose the board to all the work she's been doing, and it's very exciting. And she's also in the front office. So if you just want to stop in and say hi and ask her a few questions about what she does, or maybe there's something that you feel motivated to help her with. Maybe there's something you can provide for her, either in kind or monetarily wise. She's always looking for resources, and she feels very passionate about making sure all students are fed and clothed. And that really helps the educational environment, because when a student is sitting there with a hungry tummy, or they didn't get a proper amount of sleep, or they're cold because they don't have a jacket, and they've been cold all night and they're still shivering in the classroom, that doesn't make for a very conducive learning environment for that child. And they're probably not going to learn much that day. And so it's a matter of making sure that these kids have the basics they need. And so we really appreciate Sarah and everything she's doing. She's very passionate about what she does. And it's important that we realize that she's there and she's available. So if you happen to see kids that you feel that need these types of services, don't be afraid to connect Sarah with them. Say, hey, Sarah, I see that you might check into that. Oh, okay. She goes. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you for that. Next up is our Learn at Home social media communications and newsletters.
I'd like to just point out
Oh.
the 11/17/22 student certificate on this page on the reports Learn at Home.
Oh, yes,
Social.
yes.
So that is what
That was a
Heather
slideshow.
Shunk was, that's the slideshow that she was talking about. Just, I don't know if you guys looked at it, but I found it extremely pleasing.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
So it goes all the way down, all the kids that were highlighted from the Learn at Home.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's where it accidentally got put, was there.
Oh, okay, thank you so much for that, Deb.
Yeah.
All right, I see Heather's back on. Are you, Ms. Shunk, are you giving us the report this evening?
So I added or I included the 2 newsletters that have gone out so far. The neat thing about using SMORE newsletter platform is that I can look at the analytics that come in immediately, so I can see where the newsletter is being opened and how long families are reading, if they're going to the links that I add in there, and it's really exciting to see the engagement. And so that's what we're going to be doing twice a month throughout the year, just adding in different neat things that are happening in the school. Along with that, we have a very healthy and growing social media platform as well. So you are welcome to join our Facebook page where we highlight our staff, we highlight different really exciting things that are happening in the classrooms, and even those small things that, you know, are big things for our students. For example, today we had a learning coach forum for our parents that would like to come in and share inspiration. And so I make announcements on that as well. So, yep, please join and check that out. And let me know if you have any questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, next, our financials report this evening. Is Ms. Sullivan here this evening?
yep, she should be.
She got tired of sitting in the hot seat.
No, she, poor girl had jury duty today.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
hopefully we're nicer
Hello?
than that.
yeah.
Hi, Lorraine.
Hello? Hi, I'm
Hi,
trying to start my
Lorraine.
video and I can't start my video. Do I need, oh, there it goes. Okay,
There you go.
hold on a moment. Yes, I was in jury duty and that's over with now. Thank goodness. And I didn't, I'm gonna be reading it off of over here, so I'm gonna start here. So I don't have a presentation, but it is in your board packet. And we'll just go off of, and I didn't know when I was listening to the HR reset, I didn't know if you wanted me to, Sean, to go over just 2 items that I had heard with questions or financial questions. Is that the thing you want me to say?
I would say yes, please do.
Oh, just the life insurance timing of that. We usually choose all of our health insurances June to say what we're going to offer the next year. So that won't be until a 10/1/2023 item we can offer, just because that's the selection and that's OEB.
You mean life insurance?
Like life insurance, didn't I say that? Yeah, life insurance, but it's
Okay.
via health and OEB with health insurance, I'm pretty sure.
I see,
That's
I see.
usually, okay.
So that wouldn't take in effect until next fall then?
Yes, correct. If we,
Okay,
so that when I wanted to make sure you guys knew about that. And then just the IRS rule, the IRS rule never allows you to pay anybody from a home to work mileage reimbursement. Just so you know that. And then it was just a suggestion to maybe, but I was going to suggest maybe piece out the holiday pay, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. So the holidays that are coming up, and then I didn't know if you wanted to piece that out, like approve that piece, but not others. That was just a suggestion I was going to make.
I think
So-
that'd be something we'd probably include in next board meeting.
Okay, going on the just the memo over the financials. I just wanted to say that the enrollment, of course, was slightly up in Learn at Home. So that's good. And this is going to page 1. We heard from Sean about the state school fund potential estimate of the 9.5, or even the 10. I wanted to just make sure that our enrollment is significantly down from last year, so we won't see a huge savings or a huge increase in income quite yet until our enrollment goes up. So, and especially with the 49-51 split, we're looking at increased costs next year and also a 49 split of that revenue from the state. So the more money, the better. Page 1 of the financial statements is just a year-to-date for your revenues. And page 2, I went through in more detail, if you can see that, from the budgeted versus the actual and anticipated, kind of compared with last year's actuals. And you can see in column where it says % of committed, those are variance in percentages now versus just 84%. You can see there's some functions in the general fund that are going to be over, and then some that are way less than 84%. And this is based on different actions we have taken to decrease those functions, but also where it is over, it wasn't originally anticipated in the budget, just by how the budget was created. No one's fault there. So while some lines were over budgeted, others were under budgeted, showing you that percentage. So in reviewing the Fund 100 and functions, I am trying to reallocate things as much as possible to grant funds per their grant agreement. So that is one piece that's happening. Also on there, that on the transfers from to the other funds, it's your general fund transfers, is a budget of $530,000. I lowered that just because it was, I wasn't here during the budget process, but I'm assuming it wasn't taken into account. We're getting a DEQ grant for our decommissioned buses, and maybe we won't need to transfer as much from the general fund to our transportation fund. So let me know if that one is not correct. So that's why it's lowered. Page 6, I was just going to go to page 6, and you can see that just in general, our interest is much larger than the prior years at this time. We're gaining a lot of interest. The others are pretty much in comparison with an increase. And then our expenditures, you can see on page 8, they're kind of the July through November comparison with 2 prior years. And so, yes, our salaries and benefits are just slightly higher than the prior years. We did do some hiring in the prior year in January, December and January, so that and that we're actually is affecting us this year still. Do you want me to explain that comment? I don't know if you do. Okay. Yes, and so slightly higher than last year. We have done a lot of so I just wanted to mention, we've done a lot of actions to save from the last year, but it's just really due to our loss of significant revenue from enrollment, we should still spend accordingly. So the real effect from entering our state school fund with their new estimates that came out in November was only $112,000. We'll see as a decrease on our revenue this year, but our main effect will be in the next year. So we're trying to save this year so we can afford next year. That's pretty much all I have, unless you have questions.
So looking at our numbers, that I thought we had 262 kids. Your numbers here say 248.
I went off the enrollments as of
12/1.
Yeah, I went off the enrollment. Let me see where, and I pulled the Google sheet that was for enrollments. Let me check that really quick. Hold on. actually, where are you getting your enrollment number? I got mine right off.
On
the
your
en-
first sheet of this packet,
Yep.
On the first
Two-
sheet.
the memorandum.
Yeah, but for your increased value?
No, it says on your memorandum, the very first page.
Oh, hold on.
Is
This-
in-building enrollment to 248.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
We had 262, I thought.
Yeah, I thought we were in 260s.
Last month was 262.
Yeah,
Hold on a moment. You go, look, I don't recall even changing that number.
She's done.
She's done with us.
she just had enough of us.
I'm just shutting off my thing so I can go search my computer.
She's done with that hot seat. She's had it.
We really thought it was our fault, Lorraine. It's fine.
Oh, she doesn't like the hot seat.
Hello?
Yep.
Actually, no, last month for ending 11/01 was a 248 on brick and mortar and 278 on Learn at Home. And then this month for 12/1, it remained the same at brick and mortar and went increased on Learn at Home. Is that,
Okay, I guess.
To
for some reason
295.
I had 260 in
No,
my,
248.
unless somebody can tell me otherwise?
okay.
That was last month.
I looked at last month too. I agree with you, Lori.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other financial questions?
No, thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you.
Right. Next up is our payment of bills. I might be crazy. It's fine if I am, but I only have the student body accounts. I don't have the list of bills.
It was in there.
Oh, the bills.
Yeah, where am I? Where do I need? to be
Payment of the
looking?
bills is the next one down.
Yes, but I don't have the,
It was in there.
I don't know.
Oh, they were in there. Hold on.
It's at the very bottom, I think.
of the
Did it get
meeting.
moved someplace?
I think so.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think it did, because I remember looking at them.
Oh, maybe it got taken off. I did look at them. Because the credit card was first this
Yeah.
time.
Oh, boy.
I don't,
Nope, it must have got.
I'm not sure if this is still my section on payment of bills.
yeah, we are.
But-
It's not in the.
We're not seeing it in board books.
Correct. When I actually went to look just this evening before the meeting, I didn't see them at nor the ASB on the agenda. I don't know why. So
Well, number 10 says the payment of the bills, but all that's in there is the ASB account balances.
Didn't you email that to me, Lorraine?
no, Bryn would have,
Oh, Bren would have?
I think so. I will see if she's online.
I do know it was on there a couple
Yeah.
days ago.
Huh.
I started to, but then I got pulled away. Didn't get it finished.
So I just got a text back from Bryn and she said that they were both on there earlier this week. I don't know where they went. So
I don't know either. Yeah, I guess we'll have to postpone that for next meeting then.
okay.
Do we need us, do we need to pick, do we need an approval before next meeting? Because we don't have a secondary meeting.
Lorraine, if you would email that to me, I could email it to the board really quick.
I will try to go ahead and pull it and email it to you, yeah, tonight,
Okay,
probably in about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
So let's.
Did not
Watch
everybody,
for it.
did you guys not look at it?
I hadn't looked at it quite yet.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump to,
Patron comment.
let's do patron comments.
So Sarah Cash is in now. Her mic wasn't working earlier, so if you do want to hear from her, she is here.
Are you talking to Sarah
Yeah.
Littlefield?
Or Sarah Littlefield, excuse me.
Oh.
Should be Sarah.
I think we are good.
Yeah, I think we're
But
past that.
thank you so much. All right, so patron comments. First up, I have Samantha Petter.
Can I go for? Is that an option?
It is an option. So Joni Olson will be first up.
All right, thank you. Is this on? Do I
It
need
is.
to do anything?
Green,
Okay.
you're set to go.
Okay. My name is Joni Olson, and I have comments regarding public participation in board meetings, policy BDDH, and the HR reset proposal. But first, I do want to thank you guys all for your service. You guys have a lot of tough decisions at times, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate that. The current, or I'm not sure if this is current or not, because I know that this BDDH has been under review, but what was available to me on the board website was the policy that indicates in the first paragraph that members of the public also are encouraged to share their ideas and opinions with the board when appropriate. In the proposed policy update, the statement is replaced with the public has a right to attend public meetings held in open session and may be invited to share comments, ideas, opinions with the board during designated times on the agenda. Current policy also indicates that a member of the public can request to place an item on the agenda. There are guidelines and even a form to complete, and this is not included in the new proposed update. I bring this all up because I was trying to appropriately navigate an avenue in which I could respectfully discuss my thoughts, opinions, and concerns with the board regarding the HR reset proposal. As current policy suggests, I submitted my request for an item on the agenda to the superintendent and board chair in writing on November 29th. After some very confusing meeting invitations and emails, I followed up with a phone call in which I was told I cannot request an item on the agenda as that isn't how it works. And I'm actually okay with that, whatever the procedure is. I'm totally willing to follow. And that's why I looked up board policy to figure out how to go about that. Ultimately, I was invited to meet with Sean and Ristine this past Monday afternoon. And I thought we had some great discussion. And although we may not have seen eye to eye on everything, the conversation seemed open, honest, thoughtful, and respectful. I really wanted to have that same opportunity with the rest of the board. I want to know if there's any policy, process, procedure, or opportunity which might make this a possibility. I'm assuming that you are all interested in community input or at least some feedback on this kind of proposal. And I'm wondering, as a community member, how I might be able to engage with my board members. Because I didn't see an opportunity about how to engage with you, I sent all that letter out via email this morning. I wish I'd been able to send it sooner. There wasn't enough hours in the day to get that done. I have no idea if that is considered an appropriate way to address those. I don't know. But that I felt like that I had to take that chance. I don't know if you all felt it was appropriate or not. As I indicated to Sean in a follow-up email earlier today, I am having a very hard time with the fact that the board is expected to approve the proposal without additional information. I do have additional concerns, but one, the salary schedule, I believe, is a reflection of the job description and responsibilities and the educational and experience and caseloads. Without being able to evaluate those things, I don't see how you can judge or the salary schedule. Without being able to evaluate and compare them, it just seems like rubber stamping. And so I'm just hoping, and obviously maybe this is null and void, I was hoping there was a chance that you could slow down a bit And until maybe some of the other items are ready for your review. And that may be a 2-year project. In 6 months is a bit of a stretch. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Oh, and I will follow up on the outstanding questions on appropriate policy information with Vincent to get that to us. So we have all of that information. So thank
Okay.
you. All right, Samantha Petter.
I made a copy for everybody, because I'm probably gonna ugly cry.
You guys also have Carmen online.
Thank you.
Read along with and if I can't continue. we
Yep.
finish one. All right, so my name is Samantha Petter, and I would like to speak about the impact the HR reset proposal would have. I have worked at the school for 7 years and have been a member in the community my entire life. When I first learned about the HR reset, I was concerned. I sent out emails in regards to my concerns, and I was told that my pay would not be affected, that I was too valuable of an employee. Later, I reiterated my concerns to the superintendent and principal. On more than one occasion, I had been told my pay would not be affected, but more duties would be added. I've had lots of questions about my current position, what might change, and etc. Most of them have gone unanswered. What I want to do is passionately dive into what I feel I bring to the school, what I feel the RTI team brings to the staff and students, and talk about how this will negatively impact the students. While I want to fight for my job because of the work we are doing and because it feels good to serve my staff and students and community, the reality is I have to fight for my job or find another job in order to support my family. I am very unclear about what this proposal means to me, except that my pay will be cut by $6,400 a year, starting in January.
At the beginning of the 2021 school year, it was proposed to me to take on more responsibilities for the RTI program. If I agreed to do this, starting in September 2020, my pay would increase. I agreed and started taking on these responsibilities that September. In January 2021, I began receiving my pay increase. My pay increase at that time lifted me up in more ways than one. I felt valued, appreciated, and recognized for my contributions. Now I'm feeling very defeated. In early 2021, I had been a single mother of 3 for just 6 months and was struggling with how to make my life with my children work, financially speaking. My pay increase allowed me to refinance my home on my own. This was huge for my family. Being able to continue to work and live in the same community while having the same schedule as my children was a godsend, and I felt utterly supported by my school community. I never imagined that something like this could happen, that what I was promised could all be cut out from under me. I could imagine that fire, an accident, or illness could take it all away, but not this. I have penciled it all out. A cut of $6,400 a year will not allow me to make all my mortgage payments. I will have to try to find something else. This will be devastating to me and my girls. Please feel free to reach out to me with questions. Thank you, Samantha Petter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna DeBoer.
Board members that came here to speak to you. About my concerns with the HR reset. I understand you as I understand as the LC school board, you have been given Mr. Gallagher a very difficult undertaking to amend the pay scale and get the brick and mortar to function on its own financially without the help of Learn at Home Oregon for the better of the LC school. The new reset shows bringing pay up for the lower end employees and making some large pay cuts in the upper end. I'm asking you as a school board to please recognize the areas being cut and changed. Understand what pay category and function that job is in the school. Know where the job was placed under in the previous pay scale and to where it is now. I would also like to ask why these changes need to happen in January. Why not give the employees and school time for replacement? If the staff Some of the pay cuts are so large that it does not give staff members an incentive to drive over the mountain in bad weather conditions or offset the continued increase in fuel expense to come to work every day. What incentive now will Alsea offer to keep the staff from finding jobs close to home? Alsea School is very unique. The school has very passionate, dedicated staff that wear many hats to make the school function smoothly. If the reset is approved as it stands, it's going to cause a wave of dysfunction throughout the school. Please take another look at the HR reset. Look at how this reset will be affecting different departments in the school and the lives of our loyal Alsea staff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Carmen, are you able to unmute?
I think so.
All
So
right.
I just want to thank every one of you guys, but I'm a little bit teared up because I've listened to everybody else first. Anyway. Give me a second. I've lived here a long time. I've been through a lot. I believe the reset is going too fast. I do believe it needs to happen. There needs to be balance, all those things. I appreciate everything that Sean has done, the board has done, everybody has done to make this work. But I think it's going too fast, just like however many times we move the weight room, however many times we move the offices, it's a knee jerk. And I think everybody needs to take a step back and do a little bit more research before we make any decision. I think I better stop there.
Thank you, Carmen. That is all I have for public comment this evening. Board comments.
She filled out a form.
Deb, did you fill out a form?
I
I'm
did
just
not.
kidding. Just kidding.
So we could talk about,
I think, well, really quick, I guess I just have one board comment.
okay,
I guess, I'm gonna thank the staff and community for sharing their vulnerabilities with us this evening. It's not an easy thing to do. To put your heart on your sleeve that way in front of people, in front of the public, so thank you. Discussion, superintendent search.
so I talked to Mr. Adams on Monday, and an ad went out for superintendent search. Do you have that website? I don't have that.
Which website?
That we were discussing with the ad for the
Yeah.
superintendent
mhm.
search.
I can pull it
So
up.
it had some incorrect information. It said we had around 900 students. We only have 556 with 262 brick and mortar and 296 learn at home. So I asked him to change that on that flyer that went out. And then also he didn't make mention that we're a charter school, that we're a public school, so he's also going to change that. And then he's also going to do a little write-up about our Learn at Home program. And we need to know, preferably by today, if January 5th is the good day for the online training session for our
The
hiring committee. So I know there was some concerns for a basketball game. I don't have that schedule in front of me.
I can pull it up really
Did you say
quick.
January 5th?
5th. It's an online, it's only about an hour. So whoever is part of the committee would just, he would send out the link to them. And he's going to actually send out some information to their emails that's been sent in and send out the link so he can get this done. His time is narrowing quickly. And so we need to know if that's not going to work, but he really needs that to work.
So we have it set for January 12th right now, right?
January 5th was the date he had wrote down. And it's just for 1 hour.
Oh. And what time do they want that at?
He didn't give me a time. Is there a game on January 5th?
There is, but it looks like it's just middle school.
And what time does that game?
So it looks like boys, so if we did it at
There's no game
7,
on the fifth. Is that new?
January 20, yes.
January
maybe.
5th.
Oh,
I'm looking at the calendar.
I'm just looking at their schedule.
Oh,
There's one on the fourth,
let's see, one on the 4th also.
so that must be new.
Yeah, so right now there's a 4 PM and a 5:30 PM. We could reasonably do a 7 PM virtual.
Okay,
And does the board attend also?
this is,
This is that training session for confidentiality. Can the board attend?
he didn't say they couldn't. And so I can ask him that and ask him to send us a link so we can be a part of. I mean, I would like to be a
I'd like
part
to
of.
know, yeah.
And so,
And if we have more than 3, we'll have to announce it.
We-
Yep.
Yeah.
We just advertise it as a non-decision making
Where's that?
meeting.
It's virtual.
No.
Mark's got something about the basketball schedule. If you guys want to get.
Yeah,
Yes,
put them on.
yes,
Where's that? The fifth, the one on the fifth. Oh, it's here.
Hey, January 5th is a reschedule of Eddyville because they can't play December 13th. They had to reschedule, so we went to January 5th. Okay,
at
And it's middle-
5:30.
4 and 5:30, middle school only.
Okay,
So if we did
So-
January 5th at 7 PM,
yes,
do we need to vote on that?
no. No, because it's for him
It's
to
for him,
reach out
okay.
to them members to do an online training.
Has he already reached out to the members and identified who are members already?
He didn't say, but he is sending out the information to them for them to verify that they want to be a part of we just needed to set the date
Okay.
today,
So he can contact.
so he can
I just have
contact them.
had people asking. Like they had, it's been kind of a lull.
Yeah, trying to nail him down is almost like trying to pull teeth out of a dinosaur, but I got him on that. Third time was a charm. And so I just sent him an email telling him January 5th at 7 PM will work for the online training session. And are you including any of the board members?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we have a first reading of policies. That is really, really long. So I know what you guys are gonna be doing over Christmas break.
I've read half of them, just an FYI.
Overachiever.
Did he pass over the minutes?
I was trying to get it out of the way.
I did pass over the minutes. Thank you so much.
I did not, I read them too.
I did, however, pass over the minutes.
Are you trying to get a gold star
Um,
today?
Yes, I am, no.
So if we could
I
move
didn't have
back
any
into
kids
the
at home.
school board minutes. And I guess I don't know if anybody needs to read them, but we're looking for an action to approve.
I have read them and I would approve them. I would like to make a motion to approve them.
I second.
I have a question on, I know, you're surprised. Item 2, it says we went into executive session at 6, then it says we left at 7. Then item 2 says we went back into open session at 6, and then 3 says we went back into open session at 19:03.
Oops, I didn't catch that.
Wait,
Yeah, so one,
what was that again?
yeah, so number 1 says we went into executive session at 6 PM.
Yep.
We left executive session at the bottom of that paragraph at 7 PM.
Yeah.
But it says we go into open
Oh,
session
went back into open.
at 6. I feel
We
like we
had-
need to scratch number 2. We didn't go back into open session at 6. We went into
Oh, correct.
executive session at 6, left executive session at 7, came into open session at 7:03.
Correct.
So if we can note that modification. Any other discussion on minutes? All right. Approval with modifications. Robert,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Linda,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that reminder.
Well, thank you for catching that error.
All right, so policies, just to note, there's a couple call outs in here with asterisks regarding things that are subject to collective bargaining or a couple ORS codes when we're going through this. And then these ones are going to be fun because they have the brackets for decisions that we need to make. So
There's not a lot of those though.
I haven't been as studious as you, so I haven't looked yet.
The
So-
brackets should be all taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah, because what I found reading, and I got all the way through the Ds, started into the Fs, and I'm like, well, they're, what they seem to have done with these policies was they just marked out and redded words that they didn't want in there anymore.
Mhm.
And so to me,
Yes.
reading these, there were a few of the policies that I was a little bit concerned about. And so I wanted to ask in the very upper, let's see, let me find it. There was a couple policies that concerned me. And I didn't know if these were, when I had them open, some reason they got closed. I don't know why. Are they things that these policies we have to adopt? Are these the?
Anytime you have a policy that has an R in the lower left-hand corner, that means it's required.
So
If you-
these are not required.
If there is not an R, that doesn't mean it's required.
Okay,
An AR is just administrative rule that goes with the policy. And technically, the board shouldn't even be approving those, but I've been bringing them to you because we're resetting everything. So you see those ARs.
so the DBEAD2, just so now, I'm just throwing one of them out there. That is not a required.
I need to find it.
Well, there's no R there.
But it's on the policy, isn't it?
Where are you finding that?
It's up towards the top.
Which one is it?
DBEA D2.
Oh, I see.
DBAED2. That's just on budget committee. DBEA.
DBEAD2.
Yeah, so that's just on the budget committee. That's
Okay,
just,
that is a policy.
right. It doesn't have an R in it.
It actually it does. See at the very bottom in the lower left-hand corner it says RS. That means it's required. And then it gives the
Yes.
legal references.
Okay, so if
Yeah,
it's
see
got
that?
those,
Mhm.
then it's required.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I wanted. So there, I will go through these again because there were a few of them that I had already earmarked and for some reason it got deleted. I don't
Mhm.
know what I did.
Yeah. And OSBA does talk about that, if there isn't an RS on it, the board really should consider, gee, do we want to continue with this policy? Do we not want it on the books? And sometimes policies can get in the way of things. And that's always a prerogative of the board to say, nah, we don't want that policy. We don't need it. And I can tell you if we've been using it or how we've been using it. Sometimes the policy has been sitting there for a long time, and just never even touch it. And it's kind of frivolous. But if it has the RS in lower left-hand corner, yeah, that's required.
Well, then I will write some notes so I don't lose them again.
Sounds good.
Oh, no, because I read these for a long time.
Good job. Good job.
I had to get up and go outside and freeze for a little bit, stop falling asleep.
Kind of like watching paint dry. isn't it?
Gee, many
Before
crickets.
we get to our action items, did you get an email from Lorraine? for the
Yes, I
bills?
do have it,
So-
and I forwarded that to the board.
All right.
So you should have a email from me that does have the bills report.
Thank you. Nathan, is Lorraine able to unmute in case? Okay,
Yes,
thank
I can.
All right.
For some reason, it's telling me to download.
How's the credit card stuff going?
We seem to have it under control because of the process that we're
The
using.
process, that's. it,
Yeah, yeah. And there's been things that, in fact, just the other day, I caught a bill that came through that was frivolous. We don't need anymore. And so we canceled the contract. So we're seeing a lot of that. And the process is working.
Good.
Just out of something that just kind of went through my mind reading fuel filters and blah, blah, blah. Did we ever get the new headlights for the buses?
We talked about the headlights and we have one bus that we tried the headlights out with And we really didn't feel that we needed to finish the rest of the buses with the new headlights because they're, Rich, you probably have some more information on that than I do.
I was told it was excellent and it made it a lot easier driving the buses at dark. Because we're leaving in the dark and we're coming home in the dark.
They
And
may
really,
not have Told you about the cars that were bright lighting them when they were on low beam and other things like that. So there was some other feedback that you may not have gotten that I did.
Okay.
I did speak with the superintendent and he kind of put it back to Carmen and myself as a decision on what we're gonna do.
okay, so
And they
apparently
are
we're,
significantly more expensive than a standard replacement bulb.
Are most of those duals or
They're a single with the.
a lot of the log trucks will run the LEDs on the high beams and then leave the standards in the low beams.
They're a single of those. right?
Yeah.
These are one bulb.
Just one bulb.
The
Oh,
low and the high. in
okay.
one, So we don't have that option.
Right.
I just know that some of the bus drivers have complained about how hard it is to see in the dark with the lights that they have right now. So is there maybe something in the middle?
I'm sure there is. I don't have that answer for you, Deb. I'm sure there is.
We could
And
have,
we can look into that.
That's,
we
yeah.
could have
yeah.
Mr. Gallagher work with
Yeah,
Carmen.
I
and
just saw
Rich on
the
that.
fuel filters and it just pinged in my
For,
head.
for one going downriver, a light bar would be pretty handy because there's not a lot of traffic in the mornings. One's going to town, I'm not sure if something like that would,
Right,
if they
be
could run
feasible.
enough to make it worthwhile, because there's quite a bit of traffic at 5 in the morning. So,
Well, the issue, I mean, it popped in my head
Yeah,
because of
we'll talk
Noah
about it.
hitting the elk and destroying
can-
his
Yeah.
car.
Right,
we
I
can
just
look at
don't want to see that for our kids.
No, we don't either.
I have a curious question, Lorraine. I'm looking at these advertisements. Do you know how much we saved this month in advertisements for Learn at Home off the top of your head? If you don't know, it's fine. I'm just curious.
I think we have saved quite a bit, but especially since we went down from the 5,000 but we're still picking up. I think this month was still kind of picking up a little bit of the last ending of our 5,000 idea of the advertisement. So then the next month will be much better.
Yeah, because I see
Oops.
5,000 here.
Yeah,
But we had multiple of those last month, so that looks, it just from my eye, it looked better. I just didn't know if you had a number, so thank you for that.
no, yeah, that's been a very much of a decrease. That's good.
And how many Learn at Home kids did we gain? You said we gained a few.
Yeah, I think we went up from like 270 to 290. I'd have to 280. I'd have to look at my numbers again.
20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, is there a motion to approve
I'm
the
almost there.
bills for November?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Robert makes the motion. Is there a second?
One second.
Ryan seconds. Any discussion?
Can I have one more minute?
Yes.
It's just like a lot of bills going down this
Did
little
you see
quicker.
this? I sure did, yes. Any questions or issues, Deb?
Well, I was looking at this wireless access point. It's on page 15, 25,000. 3-year license for 3,300 and then 22,000.
That is our new Wi-Fi system. The board approved it back in July.
Is that a one-time fee? That,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And
So that's replacing all of our existing wireless access points. The last 3-4 years, as we added more devices in the building, we've done one-to-one for all the students with Chromebooks and that kind of thing. Our Wi-Fi system cannot handle it.
So then the 3-year license, is that for the 3,300? And then in 3 years, do we buy that again?
Yes.
So that's not a monthly.
just That's like what we pay currently, what we pay for that is 18,000.
A month, every 3 years?
No, a year.
Oh,
So this takes us down to about 1,000.
and then do we have a monthly fee on top of that?
That would be, that's the licenses. So that's access to the Cisco system that runs it, the cloud-based system. We're doing this in conjunction with BSD. That we want to be reimbursable. So we just have the upfront cost of that system.
Okay.
We've got that, and then we've got the wiring. BSD's gonna come out and do that.
Okay.
21st century.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Deb, did you still want more time or are
None.
you?
I think I'm getting to the last page here. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I'm good.
All right. Robert,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Linda,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we jumped back up to payment of bills. Let's jump now back down to action items, the 15. Our first action is to approve policies BKD1 and BDDHG1.
So it seemed to me, wasn't there
There.
something we were fixing on one of those?
Yeah, so is there, well, so is there a motion to approve or we'll move into discussion after that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion to Ryan, motions
Policies.
to approve policies.
I'll second.
Deb seconds. Ryan, do you want to start with any discussion?
No, it's staying
Okay.
the same one she said.
So do you want me? do
Yeah,
we-
what was it? You had it, and I can't remember.
So BKD1 was so that Robert could be in person when we approved them. It is not a required policy. Looking at it, but that is the evaluation of board operational procedures, which we actually already have in our board operating agreement. So that
So we
was
don't
one
need
that
that.
come back here for us to decide on if we wanted that one to be adopted. Then the BDDH stated that patrons were only allowed to speak to agenda items, and we had asked OSBA to change that. That BDDH item 3 allow patrons to speak to any topic that they wish.
So we got that changed because I don't want to limit our.
That's changed.
Change right there in red.
Yep. So BDDHG1 is changed, and I guess the decision the board needs to make is if we want to adopt BKD1.
And what was the other one? BKD1?
Yes.
We already have this in place, yes, in our operating board agreement. So I don't believe we need to adopt this policy.
Do we want to amend the motion? Does anybody else have an opinion? Linda? Robert?
No.
Do you want to amend the motion then? Because we wouldn't be approving both of them.
Yes, I would like to amend the motion
Okay,
to approve. Let me go back to BDDHG1
mhm.
and not to adopt BKD1.
So Deb motions to approve BDD HG1 with modifications and to not adopt BKD1. Is there a second? Okay, Robert seconds. Brian?
We're discussing or are we?
We
we're
can
good?
just- we
No, I'm
can-
good.
I was
I just was gonna say, we want enough discussion.
Just switch the rotation.
Well, no, we have to do that.
Do we
and
want to discuss this? Yeah. Is there any discussion?
No.
All right. Brian?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Deb?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
All right. Action item C, learn at home principal recommendations. Mr. Gallagher.
Yes, Madam Chair. As you know, Mr. France is resigned and moving on at the end of this year. And we just happen to be blessed with a learn at home assistant principal that certainly fulfills the requirements to step into the principalship. Mr. France is going to be mentoring her for the remainder of this year pending the board's approval tonight. And we're excited for that. And also keep in mind that we will not be having 2 administrators over Learn at Home next year, only 1. And Ms. Shunk, right now, she's half-time assistant principal and half-time special programs for the district. That's not special ed, special programs like 504 and things of that nature. And she'll remain in that capacity next year. So really, we're going down to a half-time Learn at Home principal for next year, and that will be the position. And so my recommendation is that the board approves Heather Shunk.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So I'll make a motion for discussion. So I'll make a motion to approve Heather Shunk. as
Okay.
the Learn at Home.
Well, second.
Brian seconds. Discussion. Deb.
Yes, so I thought somebody in the building was actually going to absorb this position. Is that what's happening?
Somebody in the building?
Well, yeah, because our Learn at Home is being absorbed into the brick and mortar, is it not?
Well, it's a part of the district.
Right,
Yeah.
because I thought we were trying to eliminate rehiring or hiring people.
Yeah.
Because we're on a hiring freeze.
Run a hiring freeze. Mhm.
And so essentially, we're hiring her to take over the position. But we're in a hiring freeze.
So hiring freeze means you fill within. We're not going outside and we're not creating a new position. We're actually cutting a position and putting her in the principalship.
Okay.
And it'll be a half-time principalship along with half-time
Okay,
special programs.
okay, okay. All right. So that makes more sense.
Mhm.
Okay,
Brian. Linda. Robert.
Yes.
Sorry, discussion.
No.
Okay. All right, so Robert, do you want to vote?
Sure. Yes.
Deb,
yes.
Racine is a yes. Linda,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
congratulations, Mrs. Shunk. Thank you. All right, so let's travel grant for support of low-income families, Mr. Gallagher.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just got lost.
Did this SIA grant agreement?
Where are we at?
Action items D.
Thank you.
And the SIA grant agreement.
No, action item D is let's travel grant for support of
Oh,
low-income families.
Sorry.
So it's not the SIA.
No. It is. Where did it go? Must be Selco grant. No, that's not it. Too many grants. Bonnie Hill.
So I
grant.
have new HSS grant agreement and
No.
SAI grant.
So let's tribal grant to support for low income families. It is the Bonnie
This is the
Hill
Bonnie
grant.
Hill one.
The Bonnie Hill grant is what you want to click on.
I don't see it.
It's
Very
at the very,
bottom.
very bottom.
Very, very bottom. So, Madam Chair, this is going to be one of many grant requests you're going to see emanating from our Family Liaison Program. That program is just ripe with grant opportunities. And so this is going to be one of many. And I do believe this one is for, was it $3,000?
$3,000 to create local funding source. to
Yep,
assist families in need.
$3,000 to create a local funding source to assist families in need. And that's kind of those bags I was talking to you about earlier with clothing and, you know, coupon for shoes and toiletries and things of that nature. And and this is from the Siletz tribe, I do believe.
I don't have that grant.
You don't have it?
No.
The Bonnie Hill.
Nothing.
You sure don't. That's weird. You want to look at mine?
Do you have it?
No.
You don't have it
don't?
either.
Really?
Do you
You
have
I
it?
have it.
I have it.
Do you have it? Gosh, I'm feeling a little left out.
Well, that's
no,
weird.
Robert doesn't.
That's weird.
It's your table.
I'm like, gosh, you guys don't like us anymore? or what?
Gremlins.
So, okay, so, is there a motion to approve this grant?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I don't have the grant. I'll motion to approve the Bonnie Hill grant.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? I just have a question on the grant process. We're seeing them in different formats again. Can we see them in one format?
What kind of format do you want to see?
Well, we were giving us to like with there was like a table. It was like a table with the dollars, the funds, how long it lasted, if there was a reapplication period, and who was managing it. So we lost track of grants in the past. And I think it would be helpful to.
Oh, you
have
want a
all
grant
of-
summary?
I think that'd be very helpful to
yeah, we
keep
can do that.
everything in order.
Yep.
Especially if more are going to come in.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see them.
You don't get to.
Yeah, enough.
I can't get there.
All right.
You can't
Any
get
other
there.
discussion or questions?
Uh-oh, now you really died.
Ryan?
Yes.
Vote.
So you're gonna keep going to the
Yes.
bottom.
Linda?
Oh, it's on
Yes.
here.
Christina's
So,
a yes.
Yes.
Deb is a yes. Robert?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So we're down on this page right here.
All right, our next one is the overnight wrestling trip to Culver, December 9th, which is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than
I
it's
read
a,
it. So.
it's a standard wrestling event held at Culver every year. JD Alley is the head coach over there, runs a tight program. Our wrestlers will be probably sleeping in a classroom or in the gym. You know, we're having multiple teams there. And it's a really good opportunity for the kids and it's well supervised.
There's only 3 of them.
Looks like they're staying at Tim Francis Place.
Oh, they stay at Tim Francis'
Mhm.
place?
If available.
If
Oh.
it's available.
They'll
It's true,
stay at
he's
school.
had some water problems, so it may not be
Okay.
available.
And there's only 3 of them on this one.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
guys want to hear from Bart on this one?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Three kids and Scotty friends.
Mhm.
Sean, you summed it up pretty well. They went over a day early. They left at noon today due to weather, so they were driving during the day instead of 5:30 in the morning. And they went over and helped Culver set up the mats tonight and everything, and they made it at 4:00, 4:30. I think I got a call from him. So we sent them over early, but they're staying on the mats there with Culver and helping them set up, and they have supervision there, and they're staying 2 nights there. So any questions? It's a 2-day tournament.
Is there a motion?
No, can we just jump to Joseph while we got him right here?
Yeah, can we talk about Joseph also?
It's the exact same thing. Scotty France, our coach, went there as an athlete and he wanted to go back to the Joseph tournament. He felt like it was one very memorable tournament for the kids when he wrestled. And so they are going to stay there in the facility also at Joseph.
I take it back. I do have one question. Are we a split gender team or is it one gender?
It is one gender.
Thank you.
My next is the weather, especially like Joseph. What's gonna happen?
We had, just like today, we were, I kept stepping out of the law conference to take calls from Eric and, you know, I think our transportation was on the line with him too. Going through the gorge was a little hairy, but then it cleared out, going over Dead Man's Pass. And we did go slow and we were, the game starts actually in 2 minutes for the boys. It's behind schedule due to taking a little longer to get there and being safe. So, you know, it's just, you never know, as many of you have been to Baker and stuff, Dead Man's Pass, you never know what it's going to be like going over the top till you get there.
How are they traveling?
We sent them in the school truck, so they have 4-wheel drive and they have.
Well, the wrestlers are in the school truck and the basketball team's on a bus with drop down chains.
Okay.
Okay, we'll vote, but since we're, I think, on a discussion, I would just kind of call out the etiquette on this. If we were to deny approval to, you know, tomorrow's trip, they're already gone. So
That's what I was thinking.
if this was a known trip and it's something that happens every year, it should probably come to us earlier than the night before.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there could be a board policy where we could email you guys before, because trips come up this spontaneously. And as a week ago, we weren't going to Culver. So is there a way we can get approval from you guys before a board meeting? So it doesn't,
Spontaneous.
yeah, or I guess we just don't send our kids. That's fine too. I was just asking if there's a way that,
I'm not so sure about the less spontaneous. I'm okay with the spontaneous.
Bart,
Yeah.
what we can do is when these come up, I can email the board just for it's a way to call it. It's more of a, yeah, looks good, sounds good, and we'll officially approve in the next board meeting. So I can kind of sample the board indiscriminately to see how we're doing on it.
the reason
We're
I,
doing the funding, that's what we're doing. We're not approving more than that. So
Right,
You
right.
guys are handling the operational piece of it, just,
So I'll make a motion to approve the 2 trips.
okay, so Deb's making a motion to
Culver and
Approve.
Joseph overnights.
items E and F, yes.
Yes, for wrestling.
Okay, there's a second.
Yes, like, Ryan got it. Oh,
Ryan seconds. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, Robert,
yes.
Deb?
Yep.
Steve is a yes. Linda? Yes. Ryan?
Yes.
All right. OSBA election, item G.
So I was very bad. I didn't do this part.
Let's see, the official ballot.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question. Are we voting as a board or are we voting individually?
Voting as a board.
That's what I was gonna say. What I read, I thought you get to vote.
Huh?
So what I read, I thought you were the voter person.
Oh, me?
Oh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
chair.
We
the
just
chair.
kind of
We
got
can vote to give her that power.
Yeah,
Just for that.
I vote that when Steve makes that decision.
That's good for me.
Okay,
I second.
discussion?
No.
Now you can discuss.
I'd like to hear if the board has any opinions on the nominations that they see in there. I'm happy to be the one that clicks the button. I want to make sure that
I
there's.
don't have an opinion. I didn't read it.
Miriam Cummings, Lynn Benton Lincoln ESD, or Jason Curtis, Central Lynn School District.
For the board of directors position for
Mhm.
10.
Whichever you choose.
I
I
do
don't
not
know
know
what
either
it
one
is.
of them.
I have until the 15th. Okay.
All in favor?
Yes, let's go ahead and vote.
I have
All in
good-
favor?
I have good faith you'll do your research. and,
Robert?
Yes,
Deb,
Yep.
thank you.
Christine is a yes. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Do your research, yes.
Okay.
We know she will.
Yep.
It's kind of tricky, you guys. Student investment account. Which might, I think that might be a grant, the SAA grant agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, these are difficult and whether we bring this to the board or not for approval, because this is part of the normal funding structure through the state. There's a number of grants that have been created for different purposes, and it's really emanating from the state school fund. So this is one of many. And this is called the Student Investment Account, and it's really rolled into our Aligning for Student Success project that we're doing the surveys right now about, and we're gonna be moving forward with a formal application in March, and there's gonna be more involvement. I don't remember how much the SIA grant is for.
The total allocation is 1.3 million.
Yeah,
but
so,
then-
these are
Yeah.
big grants that we're able to put staffing in. We're able to, this is one for meeting students' mental or behavioral health needs. So counselors, specialists, also this for academic achievement, students with disabilities, English language learners, economically disadvantaged students, homeless, students who are foster children. So there's a wide berth of ways we can be spending these dollars. And Lorraine has been working really hard and diligently to take positions and resources out of the general fund, put them in these grants. And that just helps to relieve the general fund even more.
Is there a motion? Well, is there a motion on the table to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the SIA grant.
Ryan makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Deb seconds. Is there any discussion?
No.
I'm happy to follow up with Vince on like proper etiquette of approving grants like this
Right.
that are school fund grants. I think that if they're not needed for board approval, that's fine. I like having my eyes on them, at least as a summary, to know what's coming in, where we're getting that and things
Mhm.
like that. I think that's more of a discussion or an update or a superintendent's report.
And that
but
might be the grant summary piece that we can put together.
Maybe
'Cause we can
that's-
capture these in there so you can kind of see where it's coming from.
so
Because I know we do have some grants already that,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
David Crow's,
Right. The
the,
CTE grants, the
that,
Perkins
and then the
grants,
kitchen grant and.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen, have we spent those grants? Did we get what we wanted with those grants?
Perkins we're working on right now. We're trying to get this forestry program appropriately certified to access those funds.
That's true.
The kitchen grant, we have spent as much as they would allow.
36,000?
Yeah, but they wouldn't allow us to spend the rest because we don't have a working kitchen up and running right now. So we do have some kitchen equipment that we're storing for now. Today, that we do actually have a working kitchen, but not spent. Those dollars, grant dollars were spent on that equipment.
So am I wrong, Christine, in thinking that what you're saying is you'd like to see maybe a printout where stuff goes? But as far as them coming to us, if we don't have to approve them? I mean.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. I'd like to get from Vincent what is required for a board to approve and what
Right.
is,
Should have been email.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get a hold of
and
them.
then I feel like then I can give you guys that and we can decide as a board, do we want to see, do we want to see that in the superintendent report and understand where our
Right.
grants are and what new ones are coming in
Mhm.
rather than.
Yeah,
a
I
vote
think the grant
process.
summary idea is a good one. And I think that'll help you guys see the different grants. Now, something like the grant for Sarah Littlefield that we that you just approved, that needs to come to board for approval. 'Cause
That's
That's,
state
that's
fund.
not, it's not a state fund. It's not a normal funding stream.
So, I have a question about that. I just clicked myself out of there, but on this, on our action items, it talks about the SLETS grant and it also talks, the last item is the Bonnie Hill. So are they one and the same?
Yeah, it's called the Bonnie Hill Grant and it's through the Siletz tribes.
Oh,
So it just got listed on our list twice.
You found the,
tribal.
you
there's a
found the tribal one?
Oh,
No, it's on our action items twice.
good question. Let me look.
Okay, so while Sean's looking at that, we have a motion and a second to approve.
Oh.
Is there any further discussion? All right. For a vote, Robert,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Christine is a yes, Linda,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
all right. We'll move to the high school success, which is the HSS grant agreement, which is structured much the same as the last
Yeah,
one, so I would
it's
assume.
almost identical as the SIA, just used for different purposes. It's part of our normal funding through the state. It's really been a problem. The state has broken up all this stuff and it has to do with politics and they want to see certain funding streams going to certain purposes. And this one is for high school graduation, college and career readiness, as well as statewide education initiatives. So it's pretty broad. And I think the value is total allocation of 275,000 and some change. So it's very similar to the SIA that you just approved.
Is there a
I
motion?
make a motion to approve the HSS grant.
I'll second.
Robert seconds. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Robert?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Christine is yes. Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
The next one up for discussion or for action is the Celco grant for a sensory room.
Yes, this one actually got away with us. We applied and we received it. So I'm asking the board to approve it so we can accept the grant.
So I know I totally am not supposed to do this, but Naomi Shadwick just came up and said the Bonnie Hill is not the selects.
Correct. I just
Shirley.
got that same thing from Shirley.
Well, Naomi is our grant writer.
I know,
so
I know.
She's like, la, la, la,
La,
la.
la, la, la. Yep, yep. I was confused. As you can see, even I get confused with some of these grants.
All right, so let's go through this Celco one. We'll need to revisit this let's action.
I do not see the SLETs
I don't have
grant
it.
in there.
Okay, so
So we're gonna have to bring that back next time.
And what's the other one?
the Bonnie Hill one, the family
I don't
liaison
have that
one.
either.
That's the one you've already approved that you didn't have. Yeah, and then we're now on the Celco grant.
I don't have that one either.
Oh, you
We have
don't?
to redo
We have
Okay.
to redo it.
Because we approved it under the slats
Okay,
in the minutes.
Yeah.
let's jump back to where we're at right now, and that's on the
Celco
Celco
grant.
Celco
one
grant.
for a sensory room.
And it's been seconded, right?
I don't even think it's been a.
I don't
it's
think-
been-
Oh, no, no,
I
that
don't
was the
know what
last
it
one.
is.
I'll make a
So-
motion.
But I
Right.
don't know what it
Celco
is.
grant.
Ryan makes a motion to approve.
I second.
Linda seconds. Sounds like Deb wants some discussion to understand it.
Well, yeah, because I
Just-
don't
yeah.
even have it on the agenda.
It's for the purpose of developing a sensory room. A sensory room is kind of a calm spot on campus for students when they need a break from sensory overload. We have a lot of
Mhm.
students that deal with that type of stuff right
Mhm.
now. And there's things on the walls that, they touch, or they can hear, or they can sit on and maybe wiggle a little bit. Wiggle chairs are great sensory room type devices. It's just a place for kids to take a break. And because sometimes they truly do have sensory overload. We have a
Mhm.
few kids that even have sensory or noise canceling headphones that wear sometimes during the day, just to slow down the information that's coming in. And
I had a foster kid.
You know.
okay.
yeah. So, I was really proud that they applied for this grant, and it is for $990. And that'll help us to bring in some supplies and set aside a room for this purpose. And I think it'll be very effective.
So do we have a plan set up for this?
Yes, we do.
And, okay,
I
So-
tell you the truth, I can't remember where, but I know we have a plan.
So I do have a question. How does this get staffed and what's their, and is it out of,
It's
what's the
usually,
staffing?
well, it's not used all the
Yeah.
time. It's a place you can take a student to. So normally it's an IA accompanying the child to the sensory room, giving them a 15-minute break, and then walk them back to class. Or it could even be a teacher. But, it's going to have to be somebody that is able to monitor the child and be with them.
So
It
it's
does
not
not,
an independent room.
no, it doesn't require additional staff. That's what you want.
It's probably sort of like when they have to have the big meltdowns and they used to take them and shove them in Mark's office.
Gage always went to chorus. Oh, she had that bean bag there, and he went and that was his sensory, was the bean bag.
Yeah, sure. Whatever works for some of these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
there's a motion, there's a second. Is there any further discussion?
no,
All right, Robert, what is your vote?
Yes.
Deb?
yes.
Christine is a yes. Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay,
So before we go any further, see, there's nothing even on my agenda
I
for,
know.
Yeah.
nothing.
I'm absolutely
so
baffled.
It's not even listed.
I know.
So what's happening?
I don't know.
Is it on your agenda?
Yes.
It's on
So
mine.
I have the
Nathan,
family
Any
liaison.
insight on this? Why?
So what I noticed was the agenda that Shirley emailed out was one agenda, and that's the one I had downloaded, and then I got the paper which had the abstract. So at some point it got updated, if not.
Have you logged out and logged back in? I know
That's what I
that
was
sounds like a
gonna say,
really
close
stupid
it.
question, but I had to actually re-authenticate the other day.
I logged, I'll close everything out
Okay,
tonight.
so
and then-
then you probably already have, yeah.
Yeah, I did have it open because I was reading last night and today. And so did you guys re-update it today?
I didn't do anything, no.
You may have to log out and then log back in.
I do every time.
Do you? And you did
Yeah.
it this time too?
Yeah.
Huh. I have no clue.
Okay, so, well, for the minutes, for the record, we need to scratch our vote. We need to actually
On the select-
scratch the item D vote on the Celeste travel grant because we did not actually vote on that at
No.
all.
Did not.
And then I will leave it, I would like to guess, I leave it here with the group. Do you want the family liaison Bonnie Hill Community Grant to come back in January since not everybody has the information? Or the item even on their agenda? Or do you
It
want us to
doesn't
go
make-
through it
I'm
right now?
fine- I'm fine with that.
Let's go, okay. So action item K is the family liaison Bonnie Hill Community Grant. This is one we actually discussed as it was the Celeste one, but it's not. So this is the grant that is awarding us $3,000 to create local funding source to assist families in need.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve that grant.
Okay, Deb motions. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds. Any discussion?
No.
All right, Robert for a vote.
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Linda,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
All right, that takes us, oh no, nope, we have one more action item, sorry. The action item, we need to set a date for a work session for the HR reset work session discussion and set a special session to follow it if there's a vote necessary.
What are we doing about the sluts travel grant?
Yeah, that was my.
That
next
has to be
question.
moved to, I guess, January
January,
session.
So we
yeah.
have to vote on that, right?
Yes, you're right. Can we put it after this work session one?
Sure.
Okay.
So do we not have any information on this Let's Travel grant?
I don't know why it's not in there. I'm sure we do.
Wait, is there? a
Well, my
time?
thought is Naomi Shadwick on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can she tell us about it?
Well, yeah, what's on our agenda, let's
Yeah.
run with it.
If she's willing to do that.
We
I
can do it that way.
actually, can I comment? I got it
Okay.
via my email and I can forward it to Sean.
Yes.
Can I do that?
Okay. Yeah, forward it to me.
What?
Okay, I'm going. I'll be back.
I was trying to rush us. through.
Okay.
Rush.
Okay. You gotta put us in recess.
Yeah, let's just go into a recess for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, Robert.
We just need Shadwick to
Oh, I thought we were.
You need a cup of coffee back there.
So this grant is 4,000 or is it 9,700?
Looking here. It's been a
Total
while since
grant,
I've read it.
total application share matching funds, total application matching funds, total amount requested 3,000, total cost of the project 9,700.
And then there's another table right below that.
Yes, 6,700. Secured, proposed, total combined. Holy schmoly. So it looks like 9,700. Project.
Okay, so
There's
the,
no
re-
project
the amount requested from the tribes is only 3,000. But we have shared matching funds that are secured and proposed pending. A lot of those are coming from funds that have already been received by the district through other grants or donors. And sometimes you can use existing people or services you're already providing to show that it's a matching situation that already exists. You don't have to use new monies for it. Like we can use Sarah Littlefield and just employing her as an example of matching funds. Because the district is showing that in good faith, we are making an effort. We're not just solely reliant upon the grant. You know, because oftentimes grantors, they want to see that the organization that they're donating money to has some skin in the game. You know, and that's what the matching dollars are for. So all we're requesting from the tribes is 3,000. And when you add in those matching dollars, also it shows a total of 9,700.
And that's a very, very successful way to work with the Siletz tribe.
Yes, absolutely. That speaks volumes to them.
Okay, is there a motion? Okay, just for clerical sense, we're now back to voting on action item D, the Siletz Tribal Grant for support of low income families.
Yes.
So is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Robert motions. Is there a second?
Second.
When the second, is there any discussion? All right, Robert, for a vote.
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Christine is yes. Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Did we get through all the grants?
Yes, we did.
I think so.
Sorry, it was so painful.
All right, so we don't need to move that grant to the next meeting.
Nope.
So, but we do need to decide on a work session to have further HR reset conversations. Deb had originally stated earlier this evening that she was open, pretty much most of December. I know this is a busy month in general, so let's start maybe throwing out some dates and times or days of the week that are best for us. I know we all have sports and things like that with kiddos too, so. Are Mondays a good day for anybody? No. Is anybody open to a weekend?
That would probably be not best
After
for you.
3.
Well,
After
that'll
3?
work.
If it's after 3, I'm
We
open.
got sports all week
Mhm.
long.
Yeah.
How about you? How about you for a weekend?
Would have to be the 10th or the 17th. That's what we have.
Of January,
No, December.
Of
I-
December?
I couldn't do either one. I've got obligations because of the holiday season.
Are there any Fridays that you're in office this month?
We could do 16th.
That works if it's after 3. I work until 3.
Is that the last day of school? No.
No.
That's
That's
a
the-
Friday.
The last day of school is the 15th on Thursday.
Okay,
I could do
I could probably do that.
3 to 5, but I have Christmas that evening too with some family. So I mean that I would be willing to do like a 2-hour work session if that would be enough time. With the group.
I think that's enough time.
And I can see if we can get Arcosa person here too.
And we could do, oh, you're doing a Christmas, is it a Christmas dinner or is that? Okay,
What day?
the 15th.
The 16th.
16th.
So
That is what-
3, I'll probably be just shortly after 3 because I have to close the cafe and then I'll be
just,
here,
do you mind if we kick off at 3 type of thing and
and then I'll join.
get rolling and
Yeah.
organized? Okay.
Hey Siri,
Because you
Okay,
got
well,
7
so
o'clock
I'll
game
make a
at
motion to
Kennedy
set a
that day.
work session for
set an
December
appointment for 3
16th
o'clock,
at 3
Friday the
PM
16th board meeting.
from 3 to 5 PM.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Nope.
All right, for a vote, Robert,
Yes.
Deb,
Yeah.
Christina's a yes, Linda,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
all right. That completes our action items this evening.
You sure, can you send out a reminder? For that?
Could we have Shirley send
Yeah.
us out a,
Yeah, that'd be great. I just told Siri to remind me.
I know Sean will be really excited, but I'm sure we can individually chat with him about different questions that we have and then we can bring. it
Send me
together
your
as a group,
questions, yeah. Tell you the truth, I'm gonna look at, I'm just been here brainstorming, and I want to make sure that I'm kind of on the right track. Sounds like you want some support staff options in terms of the salary ranges, so I could play with that. Sounds like you want more comparison with 1A schools. We can make another poke at that and see what we can get there. I'm hearing that we want to differentiate principal versus vice principal job descriptions.
Mhm.
Is there anything I'm missing?
The steps.
Oh, yeah.
Admin.
Go from 5 to 8.
You have it in your
Yes.
notes. It's just on the other page. It's on your page of it.
Oh, yeah, I'll put it here.
So why are the 1A, is it getting so that there are less 1A schools in the state and in the system than there used to be? Because
No,
There's more.
I think there's more, yeah.
What seems like there's less with us is because our football schedule, we're going miles to play.
Mhm.
Yeah, why are we doing that?
Everybody around us
Hold on,
is
let's-
6-man.
We're off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mark can fill you in on that.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's go through some key dates. So there's some legislative summit stuff, December 13th and 2022. There's there's some more. Oh, our last day of school is on the 15th. December 16th through the 2nd is Christmas break, so we will come back on a Tuesday, not on a Monday. No, that is a Monday. We'll come back on Monday, January 2nd.
Right.
Did it change? It is Tuesday, right? Because we observe the holiday. All right, so we'll
Right.
we'll update that we're actually back in school on January 3rd, which is a Tuesday.
And in school on January 6th, Friday.
Fireside chat on December 20th. School is in section on January 6th. And then we have a regular board meeting on January 12th. All right, you guys, we are adjourned at 8:58.
okay, you left me out of that part too.
What?
I didn't have nothing after Tuesday, the 20th.
I am absolutely befuddled. Why?
I am feeling very left out.
We're sorry.
Listen, this is not the time for a formal complaint. If you have a formal complaint, you know the process.
Yeah.
This is getting